my boy.
Yeah. Hello, my ass.
Oh, now, Steven, did you have nails for breakfast? What's the matter? Did you miss me?
I miss you. I miss you like a hog miss slop. I miss you like a baby miss a titty. I miss you like a rock in my shoe. But why is this nigga on his neck?
Whoa, Steven. Let's keep it funny here. Django's a freeman.
I understand, but
Snowfall. Want to know the name of my horse? You ask me.
listen here, Mr. Grasshopper. I'll go ahead and snatch you off that horse before your head spins so fast.
Steven, you old decrepit bastard. Now listen. Django here is a slaver. It's different. Y'all two ought to hate each other.
This nigga on the name?
That mother right there.
I understand why I gotta take lip from here, but I don't understand why I gotta take lip from this nigga on the name.
I don't need you to understand, Steven. What I need you to do is solve the problem of getting in the house and showing our guests here some hospitality. Now, there's 2 rooms in the big house. I want you to get them ready.
Whoa, hold on, boy. He's staying in the big house?
Well, yes, Steven. Where else would you have me put them? Well, do you have a problem with that, Steven?
No, I ain't got no problem, Mr. Candy, but unless you plan on burning the sheets and burning the house and burning the dog and just burning everything on the crop
problem.
plantation.
It's mine to burn. Your problem is getting in and getting the damn guest bedrooms ready.
Yes, sir, Mr. O'Connor.
Steven?
See you later, Snowball.
Believe the lip on that boy?
100%, sir. 100%.
Where's that beautiful sister of mine? There she is! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Oh, my darling, you are a tonic for tired eyes. What the fuck is up, internets? Welcome to That Is the F***ing Trailer.
I am Mr. Royal. As you see myself, 904. Next to me we have...
I am Durden Godfrey. Before we get into the show, just wanted to say apologies for the delay on the last episode's highlights, and it's looking like this episode is going to be released a little bit beyond the time, our normal Thursday release date. There has been some PC issues, but they are being corrected by the... Are we allowed to... Would he want a shout out?
He would, but we'll do it right now. We'll just...
Okay, there it is. Thank you.
Awesome. Saved you.
All right, and speaking of PC issues, this is not a free venture as much as we love doing it, so check us out on patreon.com/TTFT show.
And also, David, not only Patreon.
What else?
What are we doing this week? We have an Anchor exclusive. Bring them up again, guys. Tell them why we're doing this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We just said this for the Anchor-only listening audience, but I guess now that we are live on the YouTubes, we'll let you know that we are now on anchor.fm/TTFT show, where you can hear the whole episode, the whole recording of the episode, uncensored, uncut, all the things that happen in between, our camera resets and all of that good stuff, and those go live shortly after we are done recording, so you get them a little bit early, audio only. According to Anchor, I have not had a chance to fact check this, but I believe you will be able to find us by searching on any place that you find your podcasts. Mainly remember seeing Spotify and Apple or iTunes.
Droid.
So, or just go to anchor.fm/TTFT show and be sure to follow us on there. Speaking of following, even if you don't have the funds to be a patron on Patreon, you can still support what we are doing by hitting subscribe, hitting like, sharing what we're doing to help our audience members grow so we can inch a little bit closer towards monetization on YouTube. So
Meaning,
thank you.
really just get paid for what we're doing.
Please.
That's too much to ask, guys, brother.
No, it's crazy. It's absurd. I believe that's all the announcements that I had for Hello Internet. So you have anything before we move on?
No, because what we're doing is moving on up to the east side. What we're trying to get our piece of the pie.
I
Fish don't fry in the kitchen.
You're bringing that up again?
Well, I'm better
Giving
now.
me an excuse
I'm
to
better
cut
now.
that moment into this episode.
Well, I'm
and
better
have-
now. I'm
Okay.
fine with that. You saw what happened before. I had the music playing in my head. Fish don't fry in the kitchen.
This
I'll start it. I'm gonna take it all. I got you.
Okay.
Guys, this week we are bringing to you Django Unchained, and for all my non-spelling bee winners and reading and comprehension people who overachieved, Django is the wrong interpretation of it. It is Django Unchained. The D is silent. Filmed by the great Quentin Tarantino. It's what, our fourth Tarantino film? Third?
it feels like.
Our seventh for some reason.
It's at least 12 hours of Tarantino films.
But rightfully so. he's been here every moment, but that was there before. But guys, this week we're bringing you Django Unchained, film starring Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz. I shouldn't stop there, but I am going to stop there because we start naming all the people in the film who really did their thing, and that's me omitting one motherfucking Sam Jack. I'm not even omitting him. I'm just letting you know, guys, that we are getting ready to take a trip down slavery lane, and it's. I'll just say this and I'll let you go. Okay. I'll do the pitch just like this. There is one film. This is a family slavery film. That would be my pitch. Okay. You can let your child or an adult watch this. Like, whatever your interpretations on what slavery is, right, wrong, up, down, in the middle, you should be able to watch this and have a discussion. Go.
Before we toss it over to Brandon Carlos with the elevator pitch for this one, Samuel L. Jackson broke it down, I think, in the quickest and simplest way possible. In an interview, he described it as Shaft on a horse.
I disagree with him on that, but yeah, he did say that. It's not much I disagree with. You're wrong. Come on. Did you read the whole script, Sam? I love you, brother.
Speaking of amazing people that made this film come to life, later on in the episode, we will be talking to William Clark, the assistant director, Quentin Tarantino's go-to assistant director.
Thank you for not calling him an AD. We'll talk about that later.
And we'll also be talking to Lara Candie and Escalante Lundy, who are both stars in the film. All right, let's hear it from Mr. Carlos.
Normally known as Special K, but for this week, we're just going with Mr. Carlos. And I know you guys know why. No K's this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another special segment we like to call an elevator pitch. You know his name, you know his game. Hey, Brandon, take us away.
Alright, guys, so this movie has like the best opening superhero soundtrack song that's ever existed, Django. So the movie starts out in typical Tarantino fashion where you get the credits before the movie, then you get to dark night, two slave drivers, like a line of dudes just walking through the middle of Texas somewhere, a little paddy wagon thing dude just like chugging along on a horse, and he gets closer and he gets closer and he gets closer, and the dudes around, they're like, what the f***? I'm Dr. King Schultz, and this is my horse, Fritz. I love that f***ing horse. Probably stole every scene he was in my opinion. People die. Schultz buys Django and then like immediately frees him. By the way, don't drink and smoke a lot of drugs in college, because if you're a history major, you'll end up studying antebellum history, and it's a f***ing nightmare. Wait, I didn't even say the movie we were f***ing doing. God, man, f*** it. Django and Schultz reign. Oh! Why can't I do this right? What the f*** is... Anyway, so as I was saying...
Dude, I legitimately thought you froze. I thought the Zoom froze for a second.
I knew he hadn't frozen. I thought he were Weekend at Bernie's on us. He was just like...
Gotcha. Schultz and Django ride through the night and into the morning. God, I forgot the most important part of this whole scene. People are completely, like, utterly destroyed by the fact that Django's riding a horse. Anyway, so they get to this town, they're in the bar, they come out, they're, like, surrounded by everybody in the, like, town is, like, around this bar, like, hey, we're gonna fucking kill these dudes if they don't come out of that bar. Schultz is really good at just like not getting shot for the most part in this film. Then there's a canyon after they figure that shit out, and he's like, after you're done helping them find the Brittles, you're free and do whatever the fuck you want. Here's some money, like you'd be good to go. Fucking deal. You guys aren't interacting with me. I need you to interact with me.
We're
This is a complete train wreck.
No, you're doing good, man. Go. No, seriously, please. You're doing good. You're doing good.
Validate me. No. You're right. Shit. Oh yeah, they gotta go find the Brittle Brothers. So. So we're gonna go straight to the arugula plantation because I don't know what the fuck. I can't pronounce that name. Fuck. Big Daddy. I fucking love that. That's so awesome. So you get to Big Daddy's plantation, and he looked like. How do I put that? He looked like Colonel Sanders, like.
Another version of Colonel Sanders.
Another version.
Yes.
Another actor playing Colonel Sanders.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Big Daddy.
Sanders.
Okay. We can do this, guys. I promise. We can get through this. They're going there under the false pretenses that like they're there to like do some shit or spend some money as far as like slave trading or whatever goes, because that's basically, they do that a few times. They give you flashbacks of Django and his wife since you just learned about her, them being like basically like abused the out of like when they were slaves trying to run away from Big John. Anyway, what had happened is
Big Daddy.
she takes Django around the plantation just showing things, and he spots Big John whipping somebody for breaking an egg, like some bullshit. And this is the weird character because Big John's got fucking like weird Bible verses like stapled to his jackets and shit. Why? Django walks up and without like missing a beat shoots that motherfucker and they're like whatever, and he's like, I like the way you die, boy. And I was like, get his ass. Little Raj looks, he's obviously the goofiest motherfucker, and his name's Little Raj.
Talking about Fumbelina?
Fumbelina. Django like whips the fucking shit out of this dude, walks up, kills him. Bang, bang, bang. Which was dope. Everybody comes freaking out. Schultz is like, hey, we're bounty hunters. Yeah, so let me grab some papers to like talk my way the fuck out of this real quick. Talks his way the fuck out of it real quick. So. This gets to like the Jonah Hill bit. Leads us right to the Jonah Hill bit. I can't fucking see shit out of this thing. There's a montage now. Time moves pretty weirdly in this film, and I like that. Like when you're watching Django, like you get like 6 months of content in like the first hour, and then the last hour and a half is literally one scene. Schultz is like, yo, how about you roll with me for the winter? Through the winter, we'll make a lot of money. Then we'll go to Greenville and do what we gotta do. So. They're doing this one-off bounty, whatever, and like Django has a problem with shooting some dude in front of his son, and then Schultz goes through this whole like really like very logical line of thinking. Then Django ends up shooting him.
Papa?
I never saw the kid. I didn't really care. I wasn't like an emotional. Wrong point of view for me to give a shit about the kid. Anyway. Smitty recalls $7,000 was, I guess, Django's first by himself hitman bounty capture collection. Convoluted.
Procurement.
Procrastination.
Proceed.
This is a cool part after this where you get to like the quick draw practice, just shooting dicks off snowmen. Bang, bang, bang. Then you get Schultz and Django just murdering a whole fucking gang of dudes on horses, which is pretty fun. And that's the end of the winter, and they give you a title card where it's like, all right, and then we go to Mississippi. Brunhilde's been sold to the Candies, and the Candies is a plantation that no one wants to end up at. It's not a good place to be.
Steven loves being there.
Oh yeah. This is Candyland.
So we're finally at Candyland. You get the weird interaction with DiCaprio and his sister, and you learned about how Brunhilde speaks German earlier, and so they're finally there. Steven comes out of the house, and he's very concerned that Django is on a horse. And then after they get Brunhilde out of the hot box because she tried to run away, and god damn it, how many people try to run away when I was gone? Does nobody respect me? No, absolutely not. She's It's great. And that's a very sweet moment. And then all fucking hell breaks loose for the rest of the damn movie. Steven's like, you know him? She's like, no, but he knew, because her reaction was trash. So they basically get caught, and then there's this weird interaction with Steven and Candy where it's like, I need to talk to you about the dessert. It's fucking dessert, Steven. What could possibly be going wrong? Yeah, you just need to come back here. And then finally Steven convinces him to and then Steven ends up being right and twirling a fucking whiskey, just straight chilling.
He was looking like Dr. Clark in that whole scene. What is he doing, bro?
I feel like he needed to do
The reveal.
Candy's like, okay, I know what to do. We'll just do a little good old-fashioned stick 'em up. Everybody goes back to the dining room because that's where half this fucking movie is. But I digress. So got you. So we're back in the dining room, the room of where people eat. Here we go. What's his name? Butch popped out of the fucking something with two sawed-offs. He's just like, yo, and then they're just like, ah. Slams his hand down on the table, cuts his hand. By the way, everybody's smoking red apples this whole time. There's not another cigarette that exists. Blood everywhere, blood all over Brunhilde's face. He's like, so you're gonna buy her for $12,000? Fuck, I guess. Schultz is sitting there, and while Candy's signing and stamping things, and Schultz is sitting there, and he's having flashbacks to seeing that dude get ripped apart by that dog, and there's a harp playing Beethoven in the back, and so he gets up and he walks up to, he basically just walks up to this harp player. He's like, if you fucking keep playing Beethoven, I'm gonna kill you. And this is where Candy realizes hey, I can fucking just he's gonna fucking walk balls first. That is what Candy's about to do. Candy's walking balls first. He's like, in the Chickasaw County, you know that a deal isn't actually a deal till you shake my hand. You little fuck, I beat you. And he goes up to shake Candy's hand, and that cool ass fucking pocket jacket gun just ba-bang, shoots him right in the flower. Candy's dead. He died like an idiot. It was wonderful. Butch turns around and just shotguns fucking Schultz. And then for the rest of the movie, people are just dying until the very end, whenever they're outside. Django and Brunhilde are outside, and the fucking plantation's on fire, and that's the movie.
Hey, Brandon, man, bang up job, brother.
Yeah, it was something.
All right, guys, you know what time it is. It is time for our deep motherfucking dive. Dave, take us away.
We do our research. On Django Unchained. Django Unchained was released on Christmas Day 2012 in the United States. Other films that came out around this time were Les Mis, also released on Christmas Day. On the Road, released on the 21st. Jack Reacher came out on the 21st as well. So did Judd Apatow's This Is 40. Around this day, in this month of 2012, this was a Tuesday, the 25th. We were going to see this film just a few days after getting a new lease on life. For those that were old enough to remember, we recently survived the end of the world, according to many interpretations of the Mayan calendar that was set to take place on December 21st of that year. If you were born around this time, there's a very probable chance that your name is either Jacob or Emma
Stone.
In December of 2012, Google began selling $99 laptops. On December 20th of that year, Apple tried to achieve and was denied a patent for the pinch-to-zoom gestures on mobile phones.
Okay, I'm sorry, real quick. See, that's the shit that gets buried in the world. All you fucking iPhone users out there. Oh no, it's so much better. It's so much better. Yeah, but y'all so late to the patent office. Y'all wanted to.
There were a lot of facts, but I specifically chose that one because
man,
Apple.
That's your best one ever.
Thank you.
Hey, fist pump me.
Oh.
Get in there. All right.
There's some aggression behind that fist bump.
Yeah, I'm ready for that one.
It was this month that Psy's Gangnam Style became the first video to reach 1 billion views on YouTube.
Which we also did on Manson Lane. I did a little.
We're close. Oh, you're talking about the not the views, the dance.
The dance,
Okay,
yeah, we're nowhere near the views. The dance, I was all the way on.
On December 27th, NASA unveiled a plan to capture a 500-ton asteroid in 2025, and we're getting close to that, so we should probably...
Quick question. On some real shit, how the do they know how much it weighs? Did somebody go up there with a big-ass scale, and they go, oh no, bro, you didn't go to NASA, neither the did you? Who went up there with a big-ass scale and, like, sitting on this, and, by diameter and mass? Those sound like made-up,
They eyeballed it.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
All right, the budget and income for Django Unchained. With a budget of $100 million, Tarantino's most expensive film, Django Unchained brought in over $30 million in its first weekend in the USA, with a total worldwide box office gross of over $425 million to date. It runs at 2 hours and 45 minutes. It was filmed in Louisiana, California, and Wyoming from January to July of 2012. The final draft of the script was dated April 26, 2011. So that's all you really need to know about the background and the world that Django Unchained came into.
Hey, do you have 4?
For what?
Because we're about to connect. It's time for connections. And that's what I'm talking about. Not Arnold Schwarzenegger, not connections. We're talking about connections. You know when you put two things together that people never thought would work, but they actually work. Who would have thought? It's like the electric glory hole. Thank God for it. Like you put something into a hole with two little hard things, and it makes magic. Glory holes, man. I really love this connection. So here we go. Let's start off with this, guys. At the very beginning of the film, we meet Dr. King Schultz. First and foremost, literally, a 2-year-old could understand they did the Dr. King reference. Thank you, Tarantino, for being inclined to write, or whoever came up with the idea and rewrites whenever. Thank you so much. But that's not where I'm going. Dr. Schultz makes you think of, it resembles the thing, you have a foot problem. You go to Dr. Schultz, you know what I'm saying? But what was the foot problem? They had fucking chains on their feet at the beginning of the film. Connections.
Tarantino has a foot problem.
He does too. So, that's triple entendre.
Yeah.
Not entendre, entendre. Boy, I'm glad this food poisoning went away. I have been on all cylinders since the food poisoning.
Glad to have you back.
Thank you, sir. Jesus Christ. Stay away from Publix potato salad. Okay, there were a lot of action scenes in this film, but there was one scene that dated every 90s and 2000 movie ever. And we talked about this a few moments ago, is when, damn it, you would have thought he was in A Long Kiss Goodnight when Sam Jackson, like when Calvin Candy dies, and he wasn't even in the way of the gun. He throws himself in the way of the other guy, like, Calvin! But that's not the connection. The connection goes to Boys in the Hood. How? Ricky! But not just Ricky. Cuba Gooding Jr. was Ricky's brother in that, and Cuba Gooding Jr. Wanted to be in this film, and he was turned down.
He wanted it
and
so bad.
And there's my connection. Bro, this is what we do. This is what the I do.
He didn't just want it.
He was like, I think it was like he was giving money to like a political campaign just to do it. Yeah. We are now talking about, we're talking about Superman versus Super German. And what I'm talking about Christopher Reeves versus Christopher Waltz. As you'll figure out that, all jokes aside, Christopher Reeves, years ago, everybody knows the story, Superman, and he was paralyzed from now he wasn't just normally riding a horse, he was doing the event to where they jump and do all those things of that nature. So, Christopher Waltz, however, he was actually, most people don't know this, you only see him riding the horse for maybe 2-3% of the film, because it's mentioned that, as we'll talk about later, he got hurt. So to me, it's a very eerie feeling that most people don't talk about, that he was just bucked off a horse. He broke his pelvis. Like, no, I'm pretty sure the pelvis is close to the spine. We're 2 inches away from that shit. Like, no actor ever being able to ride a horse again.
Yeah.
All right, and
busted his ass.
You know what? On that one, I'll end it there.
Okay. Solid connections. Thank you,
brother. Thank you.
And it's Christoph.
I said that.
I said Christopher.
Mr. Reeves, man. It's the Reeves effect. It's in his contract.
Hear me out. These are our theories, our thoughts, our musings about the film that we are discussing today, that being Django Unchained. I have one general idea. It's not really a theory. It's more so just, this is what it means. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I think mine's pretty badass. I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay.
Not that yours not badass. It's bad. It's not badass.
When I was watching the movie, I realized that this is other than the fact that it's obviously a morality story revolving around racism and specifically racism in the history of America. But I realized that watching it today that it was even more so than that, it was a story about what overcomes racism, or what, not even what overcomes it, because the racism still exists, but what trumps racism, where racism takes a back seat to these two things. And the two things I noticed were money, like at Big Daddy's farm. He is completely hostile to them, to specifically Django, until Dr. Schultz pulls out the 5,000 reasons why he wants to talk to them. And in an instant, you see his demeanor change. Now, he's still a racist, no doubt about it. But he becomes accommodating to this man, this black man, that he was just hostile to because of money. That was the only thing that changed in that instant. And there was a few occasions where money was able to at least put a Band-Aid on the gaping hole. And then love, on the complete flip side of it, it was like what you saw Django willing to do, and the character that he was willing to become, specifically in front of Calvin Candie. Even more specifically, when he stops Dr. Schultz's interjection and insists that guy, that the slave get mauled by the dogs, like that was for love. He was willing to not become a racist, but step deep into the shoes of a racist and be at least adjacent to a racist act for the sake of being reunited with his wife. So that's what I took from it this go around, that it was more than just a story about racism, but that racism is really just a weak trait that could easily take a back seat to more to more positive virtues like love, or surface level virtues like money.
I like that. I just really quick, just to respond to what you just said. I think I didn't think of it that way, but I do like that, because it makes people say, "What's your price?" Like, racism has a price, apparently.
And at the end of the day, who does he? Okay,
Don't do
sorry.
It's okay, I saw what you were doing there. Well, at least we're on the same page and reading the same book. Behold the pale horse. With that being said, to me, I'm going to jump right into it because he knows exactly where I'm going. To me, hear me out, was my theory on this. Is what this rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Like, I did the research on this as far as when Spike Lee and Samuel Jackson are really good friends. They worked together on School Days and several other projects together. And with that being said, Spike Lee hated this, and Samuel Jackson basically told him to shut the fuck up. I mean, because friends can talk to each other like that, and they are friends. But it got so heated that to the point to where that it was Sam Jackson's wife and Spike Lee's wife that got him actually talking again, and that's a fact. Like, and you know how guys are, pride's there. Like, no, I feel this way, I feel that way. Well, I mean, hey, like, that's the reason why they call people on the front line and people behind the line. Like, we all got to play our part to make sure this thing works. If we're only doing it one way, it's never going to work. So with that being said, to me, what I truly loved about the film and what I had to say my theory was, is that my theory wasn't about the film. My theory was about the person who wrote the film, the person who directed the film, in Quentin Tarantino. I think he sought out to exploit differences, make fun of racism, but I'm not even going to just stop it there. I'm going to go a little bit deeper. This could have been so easily done another way, and it almost was done another way. He initially wanted Will Smith for the role. Will Smith wanted to do it, but Will Smith's breaking point, I thought his breaking point would have been, I just did Wild Wild West. I never want to been had again. I thought that would have been, I love you, Will. I thought that would have been Will's breaking point, but his breaking point was, like, come on, Quentin, man, I got the Django has to get the bad guy at the end. And to Quentin's perspective, like, you want the actor so bad, but you stuck to the story, and that's what made it beautiful, because what most people don't see is, at the end of the day, he put a quash to that whole black on black crime thing, or white on white crime, and people are like, how could you say that? I don't get. He could have easily let Django kill Calvin Candie. That's the easy way out. That's the ball rolling around on the rim and falling down. He showed you that crime is crime and murder is murder. A white man killed a white man. and a black man. But the bigger payoff was seeing Django kill Steven.
Yeah.
Him killing Calvin is all right. It's a good movie. Him killing, nah, you right where you belong, Steven. And then Christoph Waltz's character, Mr. Schultz, Dr. Schultz, like he literally despised this pig so much, and I mean pig only not from a police standpoint. I'm telling you, pig from he literally looked at Calvin Candy like he was a animal. And he didn't want to touch him. He was despised by him. He was like, well, if you insist, I shake your hand. So yeah, to me, that was my theory that Quentin Tarantino went out of his way to say, okay, you know what, let's stop playing. If I'm a speaker, let's talk about it. If I'm a writer, let's write about it. He put it in your face.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my theory.
Yeah, I like that. But like, I think Django Unchained reminds me of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or the vice versa. The way Quentin Tarantino used a fictional story to course correct history, and because with Django you get this awesome vigilante in like the days right before the Civil War, and you get to see him kick white ass hard, and they set up the whole movie like these are clearly the bad guys, and then by the end of it you get to just like bathe in the blood.
I never thought I'd see a person use a whoop better than Indiana Jones in my life, and then Django happened.
And then the same thing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You're cheering for the murders at the end because he's course correcting history again, where they're killing the people that were that committed the Manson family murders. You get to watch them become the victims. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely, man. So hey guys, those were our
Hear Me Out's theories about Django Unchained.
Man, we gotta change this to something there. Oh, my Hulkamaniacs. You gotta start giving me the Hulkamaniacs. You hear me, brother? Hear me out. Hear me out, man. Hear me out, man.
Yeah.
I like that. There we go. Working while we're working.
All right, let's move on to casting call.
All right, you go first.
All right. Who do you want to do first? Calvin, Dr.
I
Schultz?
can now. I just saw your screen. Move it. I don't want to see it. All right. Since I saw your screen, not tell me. You choose a character first, and I'll tell you how they're done.
All right. Let's do Calvin Candy first.
Calvin Candy. Who would I want to have seen do it? And I know this may be a cop out for me, but I don't want to see Tom Hanks do it. Because here's the thing. It's only certain white people I trust doing certain roles. Yeah. I trust Tom.
Yeah, that would have been that could have easily shifted his career and brought on like a whole. He doesn't need a whole new life to his career, but I would have been interested to see what he would have done.
He's taken on a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
He even took on AIDS. He hasn't taken on racism yet. I'm just waiting. Can we get one?
Just took on COVID. Yeah.
Apollo. He took on the moon. Like what the Astro. I'm sorry, Tom. Hey man, we're a fan really big. Come on, man. You did big. We'll give you a pass.
My pick was Joseph Gordon-Levitt for Calvin Candy.
It's the second time you chose him for something to replace someone in the first two seasons.
He's versatile. I think he could have done it, and I think he could have done it respectfully as a character like that could be portrayed. I think he could have been trusted with that character.
Gotcha. I like it. Next character, tell me.
Who the hell we got? Dr. Schultz.
Dr. Schultz. In order to play this role of Dr. Schultz, you got to make me believe that you truly do feel it. You got to make me believe that you can get in there and do it. And I'm a sucker for doing this because it's my second time doing this in 2 seasons. It's not a cop out. I just truly I really respect this person as an actor. I got to go again. Woody Harrelson. I could see him taking it that serious. I could
see him as that. Yeah, taking much easier than Osiris. For sure.
Hey man, let's not do that again. We're doing really good right now. We're in our segments. Don't do that. But I definitely would take Woody. And again, guys, money train's not comedy for Woody Harrelson. Like to me, it's almost like if you ever saw Christian Bale and the fight. Is it The Fighter with him and Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
Like to me, that's a PG-13. Money Train's a PG-13 version of that. Like Wesley Snipes looking. That's his. Charlie is his. Wait a minute. Were both of them named Charlie? Don't with me right now. Hey, somebody. My mind's being blown right now, man. But anyway, point being is that dude, I would Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson could not make one good decision for his own benefit in Money Train. It was
just like Christian Bale in the boxing.
All right, Django.
Oh my God! All right. So again, like when you here's the thing, knowing that Will Smith's supposed to do this, I wouldn't want to see Will Smith do this. I'm gonna tell you, I want to see is Django, and I feel horrible because I know I'm gonna mispronounce his name, which is why I'm not doing it.
It's Forrest Whitaker.
I'm gonna stab you right in your neck. But what I want you to do is, David, if you can pay this man a homage right now on the screen. This is the guy, and I've seen him in several films. He's in Boardwalk Empire. He's in The Wire. He's in Oz. Mr. Omar from The Wire, would you please?
Michael K. Williams.
Yes,
okay.
Michael Williams. MK.
Okay.
No, MK.
MK Ultra.
There you go. I like that. There you go.
Hey, behold the pale horse, MK Ultra. We're dropping all the bombs to make sure we don't. Listen, we are not going to get monetized. We're not getting,
yeah, right.
Hit up that Patreon. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I really wanted that because again, remember, I don't want a pretty boy actor. Will's too pretty for me. He's a pretty, and I'm not saying he can't get gritty. Will can get gritty, but come on, welcome to Miami. Parents just don't understand. Versus, it's dark as like damn it, it's dark and hell is hot. Like I mean, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. But yeah, that's my dude right there, man. And he really is one of the most underrated actors out there, by the way.
I could agree with that because you seem to speak highly of him, and I don't really know too much of a reference to.
When have you heard me speak highly of any actor other than myself?
Robert Downey Jr.
Damn it. All right, there's a few.
And Jai, what's his name for some
Man,
reason?
you motherfucker. Don't you do that. See, I was drunk that night. My friend loved the movie, and I love my friend, and man, that, man.
Audience of TTFT, I'm here to let you know I'm here for you guys. We almost did a movie called Blood and Bone this season, but I threw myself in front of that bullet.
He's used one veto in 2 films and 3 shows. This is his first veto in 5 years. Good veto, though. My
Django is Donald Glover. I think he could have pulled it off. Because I really think Donald Glover's character that he portrays in This Is America is pretty much a simplified embodiment of Django. The charisma, the style, the way he looked and carried himself. I think I could easily see him getting into that blue suit.
I couldn't.
No?
You know how much I respect him as an artist. He's just too pretty.
What about Michael Jordan? B. Jordan?
No, not even Tarian J. Roy. And I'm not pretty enough. I'm just saying, like, every Ray. No.
Here are the actors that were actually considered for Django.
Yes. Him.
Yep.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Idris Elba.
No.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Thank you. Black community, come for David now.
Hey,
pounce.
You know what?
Pounce.
That's not
Pounce.
even a black thing. That's like a British thing. I don't.
Yeah. Black teeth. Idris Elba. Thank you.
Idris. Okay. Then put a fucking 2 E's in front of it. Idris Elba. Will Smith, he declined it because Django wasn't the lead of the movie, and he passed on it for that reason against the advice of his agents and manager. Chris Tucker, Terrence Howard, Michael Kenneth Williams.
Oh.
He was considered, and Tyrese Gibson. There you go. Yeah, you're on the same page with the casting. Apparently, if he was considered, apparently he wasn't interested.
And apparently, if they knew about him and I knew about him and you don't, there's another branch of films for you to carve out here. I mean, me too, though. You brought me The Living Weight.
Denzel Washington was considered for the role.
Too old.
Yep.
That's what they said. Hey, I saw Equalizer. You still got it. They said it, not me.
Cuba Gooding Jr. lobbied for the role of Django, but Tarantino wouldn't even consider him. Gooding considered this to be the biggest disappointment of his career.
Yet again, it's the Will Smith effect. You don't think Quentin Tarantino saw Lightning Jack Flash? You'll never be allowed in another Western again, Cuba. Well, you just laughed so sad. That was your real laugh. That's what your show laugh. That you generally were tickled by that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. Go ahead.
Christoph Waltz, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Samuel L. Jackson's parts were all written specifically for them. Zoe Bell and Lady Gaga were considered for the role of Lara Candie Fitzwilly.
Which speaks to her acting prowess, Miss Laura Lee, because you beat out 2 people who had so many things going for them, and clearly your talent won out and scheduling. Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right, guys. Now it is time for Pop Quiz Hot Shot. We have 10 facts about Django Unchained. Going to start off with number 10, something that people are literally tired of hearing about in these lists of facts about Django Unchained. DiCaprio, Starting with the most well-known, in the scene where Calvin Candy smashes his hand on the dinner table, DiCaprio accidentally crushed a small stemmed glass with his palm and cut his hand up pretty good. The amazing thing is that he didn't break character and continued the scene with a bleeding hand, resulting in a standing ovation upon calling cut, with Tarantino so impressed that he used that take in the final print and even brought in fake blood to smear on Kerry Washington's face to really bring it home. A little bonus fact on that, while slicing his hand had zero impact on his performance, Leonardo DiCaprio actually had to stop the scenes multiple times because he was having a difficult time using so many racial slurs. Samuel L. Jackson actually pulled him aside and told him, "Motherfucker, this is just another Tuesday for us."
Translation, we hear motherfucker, nigger with hard R. Nice. It keeps your teeth white.
Not to mention, like, stop being a bitch about having to hate black people, white man. I'm a black man that's been cast in a role that has to hate black people.
I'm playing Steven.
Yeah.
If I'm catching more heat than you're ever going to catch for this, I don't know, Sam. I'm just not feeling it. Motherfucker, what? We've been at this table for 3 weeks. Go ahead.
This was DiCaprio's first time playing a villain since 1998's The Man in the Iron Mask, and good damn was he villainous.
I saw that and I didn't even know that was him. I didn't even know
Because he was under a mask the whole time.
I'm just saying, but I didn't know who he was as an actor before then.
Basketball Diaries, I couldn't forget that. Alright, number 9, Son of a Gun. Russ Tamblyn, star of 1965's Son of a Gunfighter, makes a cameo in the film alongside his daughter Amber Tamblyn. In the credits, their characters are credited as son of a gunfighter and daughter of a son of a gunfighter.
And if you guys don't know what scene that is when they show her in the window when they are coming into town. And the reason why I resonate with that scene is because a certain someone to my camera, whatever this is, left, right, whatever, you do the movie magic, allowed me to be in the film with my daughter, so I know the feeling. Except we were pretty much not cameos.
Yeah, it's a nice way to legitimize the legacy.
Yes.
Number 8, Motherfucker. Samuel L. Jackson went back in time as Steven and invented the phrase motherfucker. Don't believe me? Before this movie contributed to the motherfucking narrative, the earliest use of the phrase was in 1918, according to the Oxford English Dictionary.
All right. And with that being said, number 7, N-word. Django Unchained holds an all-time record to the insane-minded times they chose to use the word nigga. Nigga. To quote Paul Mooney, it makes my teeth white in the morning. I say it every morning. Nigga. They don't want us to have Martin Luther King Day. You don't owe Martin Luther King. Yeah, like y'all ain't owe Abraham Lincoln. With that being said, it was said the most in any other movie.
116 times.
I didn't think it was enough.
I'll get to that.
Oh, what?
That's that.
Should I be getting to that or are you getting to that?
I think I'll be well within my realm.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Everett K. Ross.
Number 6, Shrink Safe. With cotton fields being harder to come by these days, the film utilized soy plants with lint attached to stand in for cotton plants. And number 5, Perfect Waltz. Christoph Waltz initially turned down the role, feeling it was too tailored to his persona, but Tarantino insisted and wouldn't take no for an answer. Waltz agreed under the condition that his character would be totally pure and never once act in a negative or evil manner. Tarantino agreed. Can you not,
and you know he stuck to that, even in the film when he says, "So, did you play with her last night?" He's like, "No, we just talked in my native tongue." Like, the you been talking all night? Oh, you one of them weird motherfuckers. Go ahead.
He had to be weird about it, though, when she came in the room and he starts making the bed. Like, why you gotta make the bed?
You like, got all, you one of them weird motherfuckers.
Making her feel like you're, like, almost like you're getting off on the fact that she's feeling like you're going to.
You can drink. What's going on, man?
Number 4, First Cut. This was Quentin Tarantino's first film that wasn't edited by Sally Mank, who died in 2010. Fred Raskin, who assisted Mank for both Kill Bill films, took over editing duties.
Number 3, let me do this one because this was also a part of your segment and mine. This is also a connection. Jamie Foxx brought in his own horse. His horse was named Cheetah. What is the connection? Animal Planet. A guy named Fox had a horse named Cheetah. Hey, boom.
How did I not see that?
Crazy.
Yes, Jamie Foxx had the horse for 4 years. Cheetah received training before filming to ensure that it was camera ready. And number 2, you're damn right. Did you know that Django and Broomhilda are the great-great-great-grandparents of John Shaft? At a Comic-Con, Quentin Tarantino revealed his intentions to create the connection with an overt reference being found in Kerry Washington's character's full name, Broomhilda von Shaft. And bonus fact about that, this is the second time Fox and Washington have portrayed a married couple, having previously starred as Ray Charles and Della B.E.A. Bay? That seems like it should be all the
Probably.
way. All right, have him go ahead.
Do you remember that scene though? You remember them in that? If you don't,
Nope.
You will remember it because she found his heroin.
Oh, okay. It's okay. I'm gonna go.
I mean, there's no way you're talking about okay, like it's a good segue or something. Like they were married, but my point is, she found that's pretty much she called it quits. She stopped letting them see the kids after that. They were awesome in that.
That was in 2004's
Yes.
Ray. Okay. Number 1, stick around. Don't get up so fast. There is a short after credit scene featuring 3 men in a cage. The 3 men in the cage.
You know what's about that towards the end of the movie? What they really don't talk about is that you see 3 men, the 3 men playing cards, and they're using slave ears as currency. Slaves that have been killed as currency. They're not using chips. They're using ears.
Yeah.
How up is that?
That's extremely up.
Yeah, it is.
All right, here is our
7 minutes in heaven. Normally that's a sexual reference, but since we have kids who are now watching the show who are under 18, we got to let you know 7 minutes in heaven means a really good time. What are the scenes that really made you feel really good, that really jumped off the scene? Dave, take us away.
All right, so I will say I got it's hard. This is hard to pick the number 1.
That's what she said.
I think my number 3 scene, my third favorite of the film, would be the Candyland shootout. The way Schultz takes Calvin Candy out, Steven's ridiculous screaming for him as soon as he gets shot. And then I really like the irony that James Remar plays the first character that Schultz kills when he picks Django up in the beginning, and he doubles back and plays the character that ends up killing Dr. Schultz. I thought that was neat. Schultz's last line, "I'm sorry, I couldn't resist." I thought that was a perfect summation of his character. It was as if like he's like the closest to a character could achieve sainthood as possible, and it's like he never had. It was never apparent that he was choosing to do the right thing. It always seemed like it was just inherent within him, and he never really thought twice about it. It was just his instinct to be a decent human being. And then, of course, when the modern music begins playing as Django starts shooting the people coming through the door, and then shortly after that, of course, you get the horse dance after the house explodes.
The prance dance.
Yeah, the courting.
Hashtag prance dance. For me, it was one of the scenes. Not even one of the scenes when we one of the first time we meet at Kerry Washington played the character Hilda. If you notice. See, you got to pick up on certain things in films, and that's why people be like, I just ran to the bathroom real quick. You will start the whole movie over. I mean, seriously, because you miss. I mean, I used to think when I told myself when I made films, it should be just that good that you can't even. You got to eat the popcorn like when you see that meme of Michael Jackson, the gif of Michael Jackson eating the popcorn. He can't take his. Like I could be eating poison, but my point is this: is that she says when we first meet in the film, they call me Hilda. That hit for me on so many levels because number one, that's not her real name. No, she said they call me, meaning she didn't even remember her own real name for wherever she was stolen from. But because of the fact that she spoke German, where she was at in Louisiana, they were so dumb that it's just like saying, a black person's a Jimmy. Like any person that speaks German is Hilda to them. So she's like, they call me Hilda, and I'm like, that's not her name. It was a connection I brought up. Toby.
Don't speak French around him. He doesn't understand. It'll embarrass him.
Right. And to my point, he said it's like the Toby thing. Hey, what's your name? Kunta. Your name is Toby. Like, so that's not my name. That was one of my scenes. Go ahead.
My number 2 scene is Dr. Schultz's introduction. Pretty much the opening of the movie after the titles. That moment where Django whips the blanket off and he's walking in slow motion, and I don't want to say proudly, but he's just owning that this is where he's at in life. This is what's been done to him, and he still holds his head up high. And then he goes to step on the horse to squish the guy even further, which was awesome. And Christoph Waltz, when he says, "Did you just get carried away with your gesture? Or are you aiming that weapon at me with violent intent?" He shoots the dude's horse in the head. This is right off the bat in the movie. Like they got out
of the way early, didn't he?
Yeah, and then if you notice, like in the beginning, at the end credits, that's like one of the first things that comes up. Is like, hey, no horses were harmed in the movie.
He did it to cause him he shot the animal in the head so he could literally fall on him.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
What I love most about that scene is that it's a perfect introduction for Dr. Schultz, because it's so telling about his character that the remaining guys that are out there, he gives them a choice, and it's an obvious choice. Like, you can either kill that dude over there and
Put him in a hole.
Yeah, and then go to a more enlightened part of the country, or you can carry him 37 miles to the nearest town back to safety and continue on as you were. The choice is obvious, but it's in his gesture that means something. Like, he is giving them back their free will. This is probably the first time they've been given the option for anything.
But then he doubles back and says, for my astronomy fans out there, he tells them which way to. Just in case you didn't know, he doubles back. So yeah, no, I'm with you. That's part of the introduction. One of the ones that my number, I guess, we use 3, so they're not in any particular order. But one of the ones that I definitely had to bring up, and I mentioned this earlier. I did a little foreshadowing, which was the best use of a whip ever I've seen in my life. You have to understand this. I've seen videos. I've never physically seen my ancestors get beat, but I can feel it every morning I wake up. You wouldn't understand it. It's innately in us when your people have been beaten for 400 years. But when I've never seen a more manly powdery blue suit in my life. When he takes that whip and he goes over there, and he just doesn't beat him. And most people won't realize this. You may have read this in your research. There's a reverse shot to where they show Jamie Foxx in the character, but in a mirror. His head and his hands are gone.
Yeah.
So it speaks to a mystical figure or something like that. Right before there's no reason for his head. You see everything else. So my point is this, and he looks at him and says, "I like the way you die, boy."
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, how can you not root for this mother? You could have ended the film right there. Like, I paid $15 for this shit. Cool. 40 minutes. I'm out. I'm good. Yep.
That's actually my number one.
Why didn't you stop me?
Because I figured I'd let you lay the groundwork, because I've got plenty of notes that I just loved about that scene. I'm just gonna plow through them.
Okay.
Starting off with when he says, "You're gonna let me pick out my own clothes," and he does this little smirk almost at the audience, and then the next that cut to the vibrant suit, just looking so. Oh man, like it was just like a nod and a wink, and then it goes right into the scene. They're right up to John Johnson's plantation, Mr. Bennett or Big Daddy. Totally hostile until Schultz mentions how much money he has. Green overcomes everything. The issue is clearly black and white until Green gets involved. So then Django is a freeman, so he isn't to be treated like, you know the word he says there. Mm-hmm. Then
you want me to treat them like white folks?
No. Like, he coming back with that. Quick, let me be abundantly clear.
What's that Jimmy name in town that play with the little metal? Yeah.
So then you get that like comical moment, but then it goes straight into the flashback that is so like, it's heartbreaking, really. Watching Django plead for his wife to be spared, like begging, he doesn't care. His ego is so far removed that, especially like Django is like the superhero of the film, and in that flashback you see him just it definitely sets it up nice where you're waiting for the revenge to take place and for him to be reunited. Leads right into him taking revenge by shooting the man who did it, and of course, like you said, I like the way you die, to fucking whipping the other dude who is the worst gun handler in the history of gun handlers. Then my favorite part about that is how Schultz rides up. He is ready. He's like the original Everett K. Ross.
Oh yeah.
He comes riding up and leaps off that horse so quick, and then he's like,
Who are they?
Yeah, who are they? He doesn't even know what exactly is going on. He just knows that he's there to have Django's back, and then of course, you know, he has his rifle aimed, and he's like, "Are you positive? I don't know. You don't know if that's him? I don't know what positive means. I'm sure that's him." Pop, shoots him. Like, it takes his like it.
And what did he say after that? Positive he's dead.
Yeah. And then when everybody comes up, he's like, "Let's calm down. We mean no one else any harm." Dr. Schultz is so smooth, almost like he's taking pleasure in conversing his way at a gunpoint. Like, that's when he seems the most alive, is when he's smooth talking his way out of the situation where people are pointing their guns at him. And then that same scene, it goes into the fucking idiots, the racist gang fighting over their masks, and Don Johnson with the, "Hold on, I'm with my holes." And then the where Schultz is saying Big Daddy's getting away, like the way Django shot Big Daddy and the way they shot that moment was really cool to me. How you just see the horse running in slow motion, you hear the gunshot, and it's just the horse's feet, and then you see Big Daddy fall on the ground, and then it comes up to show the blood splatter on a horse. I thought that was really nicely done. Yeah, all in all, that was probably the most enjoyable scene in the movie for me.
That was almost my number one, and it probably was my number one, but I had a 1A and 1B, so I'm going to go with the other one. But before I do, I definitely have to really recap a lot of things you said on that. Like I say, that was, to me, again, that was the best. I have it written down. What does it say? Like the best racist scene ever. Like to me, because again, it just kind of shows you like this is the side that we as people would never get to see yet. Like angry mobs aren't angry all the time. They have to have normal conversation. And I wouldn't normally give a what a mob was talking about. That was it brought me in on the other side. Like, wow, they really, like, who the made these? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that. Like it, again, you know we love quoting Paul Mooney. Who's that that sold the flag? Betsy Rock. That was asleep at 6. Ooh, you know she had some big black maybe pajama. Oh, I'm so tired. I see stars. Well, put them in the flag and fry me some chicken. Oh Lord. So yeah, all right. So with that being said, to me, I just had to do it, bro. You know I love Paul. My number one scene, or mentioned scene, was the library scene. And the reason why the library scene, I'll go into depth on this, is when Stephen called Calvin Candy down to the library. He's like, he shows how smart he is. Like, oh, is something wrong with the white kid? Well, Stephen, that's it. Clearly, they like, let me meet me in the library. So my point is this. The dynamic they never really talk about is that of course, like he said that Ben helped the skull that he put on the desk later was the slave that took care of his granddaddy, him, and then eventually he died. Well, I'm assuming that according to how they're saying that Ben died at a very young Calvin's young age. So Calvin's pretty much only probably known Stephen his entire maybe from 6 till now life, and so he understands that that's his Ben. He probably misses Ben so much that he like seriously like that I hate to say it, that's his pet, and he loves Steven so much that if any of the motherfuckers that are human that are white with Steven, he's going to them up.
Yeah, that's
his one sense of I'm not that bad of a guy. My best slave friend's black. Like it's because he's not. And like I say to me, but it shows the dynamic of. Steven felt comfortable with that. Like I told you, it's the ultimate turn. You're not a racist. You were the product of racism, and you stopped fighting back. Not only did you give up, you got on their side, and you became worse than them. Like they had, like without Steven, that whole, even if you were traumatized by racism, some part of you be like, you know what, I know what these niggas over here doing, but it. We deserve a win every 100 years at least. Damn.
You couldn't even write it off as like self-preservation either, because he went out of his way to go above and beyond. Did you see him?
He was in there. He fixed some cognac. I don't know what free that had to be free back then.
Yeah.
Jesus. So he's talking. But what they said was in the film, he showed him respect in public, but he was his daddy in private. Mm-hmm. Like what? Like Calvin didn't talk to him racist or uppity or biggity one time when they were in private. Not one time.
Yeah,
it's crazy, man. So that's why that scene was that library. It shows the dynamic between the slave that loved it. They call it the and I'm this up right now. But what's the effect when the captive becomes in love with the captor? It's some type of effect. Like it starts with
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. That's what it was. The original. It became a name when niggas weren't doing it no more. They held hostage. They were held hostage. We got a name for it. So when we was held hostage for 405 years, no name for it. We'll talk about that later. Go ahead. That's my scene.
All right, what were your favorite scenes in the movie? Let us know in the comments. And with that being said, let's get on to you are going to need a bigger boat.
David, tell us what that means.
These are our favorite lines in the movie, and Quentin Tarantino has his films are littered with, as you like to say, just great wordplay. So we managed to narrow it down to our 5 favorites each.
He says, someone says the question, well, where did they get that name from? And Calvin Candy responds with, who knows how they get these nigga nicknames get started? And I'm like. You do realize that, there's no difference. A nickname is a nickname. Why are our names like? Who knows how these? It was Quentin Tarantino saying, "Oh, that's a black name. That's Shaquisha. This, that." And like it's the same thing. Well, how they get they? Why? Nobody asked you how the you got soap sauce. Whatever y'all, whatever name it is. Like what? It's a name, just like a fingerprint.
Yeah.
It's yours, man.
Yeah. Calvin Candy, man.
Calvin
Ignorant.
Candy. Yeah. That's pseudoscience.
Dr. Schultz, close to the beginning when they walk into the saloon, and then pretty much the whole town is outside the saloon with guns. He says to Django, "It's getting pretty tense out there. Don't make any quick movements and let me do the talking." I think this was a perfect example of how, as a white guy, to be an ally to your black friends. That was like and that was one of their first interactions together in public. So I thought it was telling that that's like immediately he's understanding that the dynamic there, that he is operating under a form of privilege and can use that privilege almost as like a bulletproof vest for his black comrade.
Okay. Yes, I think we both have one. You spoke to it earlier when he said it was the exchange to where he says, "Are you sure that's him?" "Yeah, I'm sure." "Are you positive?" "No." "You're not positive?" "I don't know what positive means." "Are you positive it's him?" And he shoots me like, "I'm positive he did." Has Abbott and Costello written all over it. It was so well done, and I mean,
yeah, I mean the delivery, like the subject matter itself, a black man being illiterate is not funny inherently because of why that is. Like they weren't allowed to read, but the performance and the delivery of it and the timing and the beat, like I don't know
what was funny about
means.
that was, they weren't allowed to read, but Calvin Candy was, and he still didn't know. Remember when he said the German word at the table, and they both were like, "Huh? What I mean?"
Yeah. Well, then there's that moment where Dr. Schultz gives Django the what is it called, pretty much the bill of death for somebody, and he's like they do it so subtly, but that's a big moment. That's a white man give it, like saying, "No, you read it."
Right. Yeah. Hey.
It was unheard of for that time. We brought this up too. My number 2 is "I Like the Way You Die, Boy." Django.
For me, it was in the ending scene, not the ending scene, but the ending scene for Dr. King Schultz and Calvin Candy, when you saw he was never leaving that house. I'm telling you this right now. When I say Dr. King Schultz, he was when the moment he started looking at the books, he had already decided, I am going to die in Chickasaw. Like it went from not dying, he was going to die now there because he was going to find any excuse. I truly believe he was going down to Stain to get some dynamite before the old boy asked him to shake his hand. He was like, you know what? No, that's better. He wants me to yes, I'll shake his hand. Yes, this dumb bastard has said it. So my whole point is but before that, the breakdown happens with, before he defeats him physically, he defeats him mentally. It's like a chess game when he says, Alexander Dumas is black. He was telling about how he named his slave after this, after that, and you saw the Greco-Roman wrestling thing behind the table. Like you named your top slave. He's like, you thought he would have been okay with it. He was like, well, those Frenchmen were weak slaves. He don't know. No, he was black. and it's that beat that Leonardo DiCaprio, you're like, so wait a minute. I named my top nigga slave after somebody black. Like it just hurt him. It was break, and that's when Leonardo DiCaprio decided, I'm gonna make the one thing. I can't beat him. I gotta shake my hand. That's the only thing I can do.
That's a Southern tradition. I ain't from the South.
This paperwork don't mean nothing.
That actually leads perfectly into my number 3. Schultz to Candy. Insist on what? That I shake your hand? Then I must insist the opposite direction. Like that. Man, Schultz is so smooth way.
He is.
To somebody.
He is. And then for me, my number one was not even all the black people get out of here. All the black people get away from the white people and get out of here. And then Steven tries to move. Not you, Steven.
You're right where you belong,
dude.
That's my number 5.
Oh, okay, dude. When he says, Cora, say goodbye to Calvin Candy's sister, she was like, huh? Say goodbye. Bam! I mean, it's 1 second.
That's when all I could think about was the dude jumping off the ladder right in the other room.
Oh yeah, I thought about that too. Now I'm gonna tell you one thing you did not know. This is definitely worth the rewatch of the entire film just for these 3 seconds. Remember the girl? I don't know if you ever seen Harlem Nights, but remember the girl that Calvin? It was unspoken. She was the. Oh, I'm telling you, that once that nigga juice get on you, it's like a little black mass. It's so like that was old girl that was always around him. He had that one black girl that was always around him. She was like, oh, I know you didn't mean me, when he told everybody to get out. So in fairness, when Tarantino, even though he said nigga a bunch, he didn't show a lot of rape in a slave film. This is the less rape that's ever been shown. So give him credit for that. It's two sides, every flip side of that coin. So with that being said, my point is that you don't notice when they come back from the funeral, the black girl is still entitled. Before the white people even ask Cora to do anything, she hands her the umbrella, and Cora sets the umbrella over there. Cora still don't trip, and then out of nowhere, John Candy's sister, I mean not John Candy, Jesus Christ, rest in peace. Calvin Candy's sister, I'm still okay, says, I'm tired. Can you fix me and such some coffee? Miss Cora like right away, such and such. Steven out of nowhere, right on time, and you help her too, letting this know. Oh no, the good days, yeah, right. Not even that you're black. Man. You're back. Bitch. You're a back. Hey, I remember before he started you. And I've been waiting on it. This the one good thing came out of this nigga dying. Like now you should. And she like, and then Cora was like, "Come on." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. Yeah, that was great for me, man. Jesus.
My last one was when Django is being taken at the end, and he's talking to like the Australian dudes. He's
hey, mate.
Yeah, he's when they're like, "You got yourself a deal, Blackie." The way he responds and says, "You got yourself a deal, mate."
It's the same thing. Like
he might as well have said "motherfucker."
Right.
If they were smart, they would have known they were about to get shot.
And he did it quick. Give him a gun. Like what the f- were they thinking? That's crazy, man. But yeah, those. Hey, man, that's going to need a bigger boat, guys. Like again, there's no way to have narrowed it down to 10. But with that being said, like I mean, we literally could have went. Act by act and done this, but hey, that's a bigger boat, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, and when we say bigger boat, we're not talking about Nina Pinta or Santa Maria. Happy Columbus Day. Yeah, him.
All right, let's move on to scene stealers. These are people that we actually did like. Who was our before we get into scene stealers, let's throw up the board and.
Ooh, this is.
And who the hell was our
What have we done?
Yeah, it's all blur. It's already blurring this season. We opened up the season with
Vanilla Sky,
and that of course went to
Penelope Cruz. Not Penelope, no, Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz, that's right. Cameron Diaz is on the board. And then Tropic Thunder, of course, Robert Downey Jr.
Lincoln Osiris.
And who is going to join Robert Downey Jr. and Cameron Diaz on the board? Who is the scene stealer?
You want to go honorable first?
I got 2 honorable mentions.
I only have one, but you go first.
All right, my first honorable mention goes to Jamie Foxx, because I think his ability to go from a pleading, desperate victim in the flashbacks to the calm, cool, collected vigilante that we see in the present was, I mean, you see an awesome range in his performance just in one role. He's playing both the victim and the superhero vigilante, and almost like the larger-than-life mythical figure. But he's also so human, and he did it effectively. I think he did it better than Will Smith would have done it.
My honorable mention was going to go to Samuel L. Jackson. It's not, though, only because it's certain times where you want to play a role. And to me, like I say, what he did, he was just great Sam. This was Sam being great. See, Sam's gonna be great, and don't get me wrong. If you want to ask me one of Sam Jackson's best roles, now you start talking about Long Kiss Goodnight and The Negotiator, where I've seen different ranges of different stuff like that. So okay, yeah, talk to me about it. But this, and don't get me wrong. Yes, I'm not gonna ignore the fact it's hard to ask a person to portray a slave. But if anybody's gonna do it, and like you just said, motherfuckers another Tuesday. So you're just that motherfucker. You're Stacks from
It's the Tom Cruise effect. Yeah. He's cursed because we already expected great from him. So
correct.
It's like,
so
I'm not impressed.
Yeah, no, I was impressed, but I wasn't overly impressed.
Yeah.
Honorable mention goes to Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay.
Yeah, what he did with this, because I truly felt he did feel uncomfortable, but yeah, you don't get to say that around us.
Yeah.
And I know he didn't mean anything by it, but I'm just glad the realest motherfucker in the room pulled him over to the side, like, hey, motherfucker, we've been at this goddamn table scene for 3. You better get comfortable saying this shit.
Now, Leonardo, you old decrepit
bastard. I need you to say nigga like I need a rock in my shoe.
My other honorable mention goes to Christoph Waltz, because I couldn't imagine anyone bringing that eccentric, against the grain character to life with the effectiveness that he did. I love the way he acts in a way that was completely unheard of at that time, and he does it so casually, almost like I feel like he enjoys having Django as his partner because of the response it elicits in everybody that they encounter. And I love the fact that he he refuses to give any credit to the notion that there's any absurdity in a white man being seen or being friendly with a black man. He just approaches it every time like, what is the big deal? What are you guys so uppity about? Like, what is the problem? And he doesn't even really do that much. He just is just completely, he acts like he's completely bewildered by their bewilderment, which is, he does it well.
All right, so with that being said, all right, you got our honorable mentions, and we're going to go now into who we chose to hopefully grace our screen. So I am going to go with a gentleman by the name of Christoph Waltz. The reason why I went with him is you hit on a lot of points there. Number one, the reason why I hit on it is because before the man took the role, the man just told the director that he would only do it if it could be done one way. And furthermore, before the man even said that he turned it down because he felt the role too much mirrored what he was. You're not even asking me to act.
Mm-hmm.
You asked me to get a paycheck. Well, in Tarantino, if you ever just want me to be me, I'll do it. But to me, first and foremost, you got to know the subtext of a lot of Germans came over from Germany when they came to the United States, and they were a big part of the anti-slavery, anti-racism movement. Like I'm not saying no Germans didn't come over who weren't racist. I'm just simply saying like they were the ones that come here like, nah, man, hard working is hard working.
Yeah.
You know, like what the is going on? Like this motherfucker is working harder than you because you're holding them back. You know what I'm saying? Like this weird like that, man. So to me, what he did with his character on so many different levels, I saw compassion. And here's the thing about it. Again, what you said, he was so cool throughout the whole movie, but the one thing he couldn't stand at the end, man, was that motherfucking beast. There was one animal in this film. It wasn't a horse boy. It wasn't the pigs. It wasn't the slaves. It was Calvin Candy.
Mm-hmm.
It was truly him, and even his hair when he's around Calvin, he's just it's getting crazy now because he's looking at like this motherfucker got all these books and I know he ain't read none of these motherfuckers. He is losing it right in front of us, and it's like, damn. He's like, I'm sorry, because you got to understand that he probably knew, like, damn, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm finna have to kill this motherfucker, but you know what? I probably up everything we just did. The 12,000, Jamie's not going to get out. I'm sorry. Like, listen, out of everything I've done for you, I'm only asking for one thing. And I don't think you're going to be mad at me. I need to kill this motherfucker.
Yeah, he's an actual intellectual having to endure somebody pretending to be an intellectual.
And again, like you said, and at every given point, he went, like you just said, he went into each situation with not saying that, not even trying to be overly not racist. He gave everybody an opportunity for them not to be racist. He only responded to the environment they was in. But if removing
nothing to see here.
Yeah, but removing how his character was written, it just like he really, even when the scene at the beginning to where they go into the bar and they get a beer. And normally you see this in all Americans, like when they give you a beer, they give it to you the fuzz. He slices it. It's just his mannerism. He was, man. Listen, what he did with this character, bro. It was I wouldn't have wanted to see anybody else do it, and it really made me feel something to where I never had read his biography before, but after seeing the Django Unchained years ago, I had to know who he was, and I went back and looked at his whole filmography.
Yeah, and to see like the kind of character he played in Inglourious Basterds, to go from like the epitome of evil to somebody that's a borderline saint, that's range too.
Yes, well, it was backwards though because the Django then Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah.
So, but either way, range is range. Range is a spectrum, man.
I gotta give it to Leonardo DiCaprio almost for the exact opposite reason why you didn't want to give it to him. Because to understand how uncomfortable he was playing that character and to still see the results of him committing 110% to a character that we know it's been documented, he didn't, like, these shoes weren't comfortable for him to fill, yet he still crammed his feet in them and ran a marathon in them. So I thought that in itself was impressive. And that on the page, like, I would love to just read the script before ever seeing the movie and see how I felt about the character of Calvin Candy, because on the page I could only imagine that it is just a villainous, just somebody that you find no enjoyment in at all. It's just hate. I just despise this motherfucker. And Leonardo DiCaprio manages to take that character that is easily despised, and you're still despising him, but you're entertained by him in the exact same moments. And I think that speaks to Leonardo DiCaprio's talent to be able to do that with a character. So
here we are.
I'm gonna make this really easy because I was actually on the fence between Christoph Waltz and Leonardo DiCaprio. They kept switching from honorable mention to number one throughout the whole thing. I would say I'd throw my hat in the ring for Christoph Waltz.
The first German on the board. Give him a prize. Yes. Hey, Christoph. Hey, you earned it, you fat bastard.
I'm surprised you didn't do your salute.
I don't know what you're talking about. Even me saying that now, you bring it back up. But hey, Leonardo, I'm pretty sure you get another shot.
Oh yeah, that's what the Academy's been telling him for like this.
Oh my God.
His whole career.
Jesus.
Always nominated.
Always a bridesmaid.
Always going home empty.
Never a bride. All right, Dave, what do we have next?
Before we go on, let us know in the comments who your favorite characters or actors, artists were in Django Unchained. And with that being said, for continuity purposes, let me go ahead and get comfortable in the jacket.
There you go.
Because it is time for cast, crew, or you. And good golly, Miss Molly, we have quite the segment of cast, crew, or you. We are speaking to William Clark, Quentin Tarantino's go-to assistant director. We'll also be speaking to Lara Cayouette and Escalante Lundy, stars from the film, of course, Lara Lee Candie Fitzwilly, and Big Fred. So those interviews are coming up right now for Cast Crew Review. Enjoy.
All right, guys. Today we have a very special guest. When you're talking about someone who's done film, someone who's been in film, someone who is film as far as we are concerned, he is someone you will definitely recognize from the film we brought him here to discuss today, Django Unchained. But he is an actor and a writer from Louisiana who has been working steadily since 2008 with 50 movies under his belt, plus 5 more from announced post-production stages. His name is Escalante, don't mess it up, Lundy, but you may know him as Big Fred. Mr. Lundy, thank you so much, sir, for joining us again today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's 2012, and you get the call. You're going to be in Django Unchained. So first, how did that come to be? And second, what was your reaction initially?
That was a strange situation because I remember in 2011, it was maybe like August 2011, I had the audition. It was 2 parts that I read for. It was Big Fred, and it was this other part. I think his name was Oscar. It was another character. Another character I wanted to get because the other character in the audition had the most lines. And later on, they broke it up at the very, very end of Django. They broke it up to the 3 guys in the cage. They gave each one of them a line. But initially, each one of those guys, it was just one person had that line. And Big Fred just had, I think my line was yes, sir, 3 times. That's all it was. And later became the best scene I ever did in the history of my acting career. And then they actually cut it out of the movie. Because I didn't understand the script. It was a lot of stuff. A lot of times they get scripts. You only get your part. That you get a snippet of the part, one of the parts that you're reading for. You could have 3 scenes. They may give you 1 scene to read for. So you have no idea how it fits in the story. 0. Yeah. So I read for Big Fred, and I read the character's name was Oscar. I think that's what it was. So I go into the casting director's office. I read for both of those, and I leave. And I don't hear anything. Normally, if I don't hear anything within a week, I forget about it. Because, when I first started, I used to nag my agent, did you hear anything? She said, relax. If they want you, they'll let you know. If they don't, they don't. Because they don't call you and tell you don't have it. They call the people who do. And I didn't understand. I didn't know that. So that was another lesson learned. They're not that courteous. So anyway, that was August. And then in November, it was the week before Thanksgiving, or the week of Thanksgiving. And I remember my agent calling me saying, Quentin Tarantino wants to meet you. He's at the, I think it was the Fairmont Hotel downtown. I guess he had a room there. I say, for what? Is another movie? No, it's the movie because normally, I didn't know how big films work. Big films, they start production, way ahead. Whereas normally for like a television show, if you're a co-star, you read one, you go on audition, in a couple of days, whether you got the part or not. And if it's in most films in those days before they started doing taped auditions, you would go in, casting director, and then you would come back for a callback with the producer or director of the film. Like I did was what was one that I did? Nicolas Cage, Bad Lieutenant. I went in. I remember going in and did a good job. I made it to the audition because I made it to the callback. I had the famous director, German. Is he German? Verhoog, whatever his name is. Anyway,
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right now, but I met him. I remember whispering to his assistant that was a great audition. He ran to get the part. So that was I was used to going in, either getting the part or having a call back and getting the part. That's how it was back in those days before they started doing a lot of tape auditions. And so I go to the hotel. I'm waiting outside. He comes to the door. No, the casting director comes to the door. I go in there. He comes, shakes my hand, and he's just bigger than life. I mean, he sucks all the air out the room. Say, Escalante Lundy, great to meet you. I like your audition. You said you do what most actors don't do. You don't give me what I want. You give me a character, not what you think I want. Well, I didn't give you what I thought you want because I didn't know what the hell what it was. I didn't know what the character was. It was just 3 lines of yes, sir. So, I didn't know enough to give him what he wanted. It was sometimes it's best to be ignorant because you can't make obvious mistakes if you don't know. So that's one of those times where ignorance was bliss. So we sat down, and it was his assistant and then the local casting director. And we talked about 25 minutes. He just talked and talked and talked before he even got to just talking about, he wanted to know about my life. Basically what you're doing, that's what he did.
That's cool.
What he's doing is he's trying to see if the character is inside of you. Because when he looks at you, he's looking like he's almost reading your mind. Like he's looking past everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a hard person to lie to, extremely, because he's noticing everything you do, your body language. So we talked about 25 minutes. I remember him asking me, "Do you feel uncomfortable? Would you feel uncomfortable doing?" After explain what the movie was about, would you feel uncomfortable with doing this type of movie? I said, if I felt comfortable, something would be wrong with me. So then we read it, the scene. He explained what the scene was. But I had a fight scene before that, and this is after when we get to Candyland, and then he explained all that. So we did the scene, we read it, then we actually did it physically. And then he said, well, if you get this part, I want you to, don't cut your hair, don't shave. You might need to lose some weight. I need to see if you can actually do the physical part to it. So I would have you meet with a stunt coordinator locally, and then see if he thinks you can do the job. So I'm saying to myself, he wants me to do all that. I must have the job. I didn't know other people. He was in addition to other people also. I had no idea. So I wasn't even thinking that. So I go home. I'm all excited. I get a call next day from the stunt coordinator. Said he had a local person there that he wanted me to meet with, and the guy was going to put me through the paces to see if he felt I could do the job, because he said I was a little bigger than he thought I was, and he didn't know whether or not I could physically do. So I met the guy. His name was Buddy. He was an older guy. So I did everything he wanted me to do, and then he called the other guy, the casting director, the stunt coordinator, and gave him my approval, his approval, and then he called me and said, yeah, I got the proof, and then I get a call a couple of days later that I had the part. So that was right after Thanksgiving that I found out officially that I was going to be shooting in March. So that's how I got the part.
And what was that like working with Tarantino on set?
It's like no director ever met. I say what he does, and this what people who haven't worked doesn't know. He seduces you. You fall in love with him. And what I mean by that is that he gives you everything that you need. I mean, it's like Fantasy Island. You want something, you got it. I mean, you have the best in catering, which is my favorite department. Set design, wardrobe, props. You have the best in everything. There's nothing you can say you didn't have. You know, they had a guy. They would have when they were shooting a scene, if a cloud was a certain location, if the cloud moved, they can call some weather channel and will let them know another cloud was coming. They was to that degree. I mean, you're talking about a $900 million budget. I mean, he's so intelligent, and he's the key with Quentin is he's a great communicator. Mm-hmm. That's probably his number one asset, and that's why a lot of directors probably fail. They don't have the knowledge of how to communicate with actors, and that's probably one of his greatest strengths. He knows how to communicate with people. I remember I was doing a scene. Me and Lil, we did the fight scene. After the fight scene that y'all saw in the movie is not the fight scene. That's like a sample. Yeah. That fight scene took us 2 weeks to shoot. He showed y'all the rated G version. Yeah. They had that. We was in the, like in the corner with like you're fighting and the manager, and then there was parts after the fight. There's a part when I took both the guy's eyes out. The part when he bit chunks out my shoulder. But we shot it for 2 weeks, and there was a scene after the fight when you see when after the fight, Leo tells the bartender to give me a beer and all that. But we did it a few times, and then one time Quentin said, "Say it, knowing you don't mean it, but say it the same way you're saying it, but just say it knowing you don't mean it." And when we did it next time, I felt that he didn't mean it. Like I knew this was like the end for me. But he knows not only what to say, he knows how to say it, that it's easy for you to translate and to perform it. So I would say probably his communication skills are probably the best that I've ever seen. And then he does stuff for you, like at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. We would have movie night where he would get this obscure Japanese movie, and he'll take a theater. He rent out the whole theater, and only we can come, and there'll be food there and alcohol, and he showed he appreciated you. So what that did for you is that you would do everything for him. Mm-hmm. You do anything because you didn't want to disappoint him. He did all that for you, put you in this situation that nobody else had done, and so you want to do everything not to disappoint him. Not so much you do it for him more than you're doing it for yourself, and that's what he does. That's what he does. What people don't realize.
You were talking about the screenings. Is that I noticed a picture of you and some of the other cast of the film. It almost looks like you guys are at a screening.
That was actually Leo. They put him in one, and the stars got houses. That was the house he was staying in. It was another star's house that he was staying in, but Leo, that was the house he was staying in. So he invited some of the guys over to watch an MMA fight. I think it was what was the guy Jones?
So James Remar, I guess, lost whatever bet. I noticed a lot of cash in his hands.
Jamie Foxx and a couple of people had bet. They would bet just $1. Jamie bet. He was for the other guy. Leo had betted. James betted, and a couple of guys had bet $1. So we was on the sofa. We decided to take a picture after the fight, and James just held up the $1. So that was like because Leo had catered some food, invited some people over. It's about 20 of us. All the Mandangos and some other people and his people. So it's about 20 of us that were there. And we had like he catered dinner, and we watched the fight, and then that was afterwards. We just hanging out, just talking. So just a picture we took. But that was just with the guys, some of the guys on the set. That wasn't with the whole production with the witness stuff, yeah. But that was just James just held the $1 up, yeah.
I want to change tone for a moment and ask you about this, and not even just with Leonardo DiCaprio's character, with your character as well, because I was very fascinated when I found out we're going to be interviewing you with a subject matter like this, like what you told Quentin Tarantino is, if I'm comfortable with this, you got the wrong guy, there is a problem. So I wanted to know, we read that Leonardo DiCaprio was so uncomfortable with his character. He was also known for being a method actor. I mean, he ate raw bison and slept with an animal carcass for the revenue. So we already know how far he'll go. I'm curious, on when you saw him, if he ever broke character with you on set just because of how uncomfortable he was in that role, something pulling away from him like that. And furthermore, were you ever at a position to where you felt you couldn't perform because this is serious content we're talking about here? How did that all translate?
Well, with me, the best thing about this film is that I had time. Like I said, I found out I had the part basically in the November, beginning of December. So I had December, January, February to prepare. I had 3 months. I never today, since before or after, had 3 months prepared for any film. So now I'll see, for the stars, I see why they need that time, because to get into character, it takes time. And especially for somebody like me, I had only been acting like 5 years, 5, 6, 6 years when that happened. So I needed the time. So for me, I had time. So what I did was, for me, what works the best, the easiest, there's a lot of things that I do, but the thing that works the most effective is a word. I have one word that's like my theme throughout the whole film. For this word, it was despair. That was the one word that I attached myself to, despair, which is just mean, it's hopeless. I will be a slave the rest of my life. So I attached myself to that word, and everything I did was attached to that word. And so I always kept that in me, for 3 months. I just drilled that in when I was working out, when I was working my day job, when I was doing anything, I'm at the stop sign. Despair. I drilled that into me for 3 straight months. So that no matter what I was doing, in character, not in character, it was always there. With Leo, it's a lot of things I found out about Leo. Like, he had never did a play. We just was talking about, some of the actors were talking. That night he was talking, he said he had never did a play. I didn't know that. He had, the interesting about Leo that's so fascinating, he had just shot Great Gatsby, Django, Wolf of Wall Street, back to back to back. And I mean, that's amazing. How could you do, each character was so different.
Yeah.
He went back to back to back. I mean, straight, not a day break. Mm-hmm. So for him, when we would say cut, nobody really stayed externally in character. Now, they may have been internally, but exterior, they would go back. Especially Sam, he was the one. He would, as soon as they say cut, he would go back to being Sam immediately. As they say action, go right into it. He probably went in and out of character the easiest. He probably did the longest. Christoph, another one. The old actors, it's easy for them, I think, to break character. Nobody really stayed external. You couldn't see it. I mean, you couldn't feel. They weren't in character when after the Quentin said cut. They may have still been in character internally, but they weren't external. They weren't still. Leo wasn't still talking like Monsieur Candy, and Sam wasn't Steven, his character, and Jamie wasn't Django when they said cut. Because Quentin would always have something to say, and they would talk in their own voices. So he may have, you still keep it there, but it wasn't like true method actors. Now, he may have done it on other sets, I don't know. But in this set, everybody, when Quentin said cut, everybody it was a very relaxed set. Very, very, very relaxed. So people kind of, semi-broke character in between takes, and we'll go right back to it as soon as they were it was ready. When they were started to roll, you would get right back into it when they were rolled. So I didn't see it. Okay. I didn't see anybody being in character 24/7.
Well, put it this way: out of all the sets to not do that on, that's the one. Like when they say cut. Please cut. Let me ask you this: before we move on, do you have any interesting factoids you'd like to share that you think fans of the film would appreciate knowing? Anything that you saw behind scene or on set, or just anything in general?
Well, nothing with Leo, because I worked with him the most, because most of my scenes, every scene I was in, he was there. And when I met him, the funny thing, when I found out who was in the movie and I found out the character, I realized I was going to be working with him initially, but then I kind of forgot about that, when I was preparing. And when it came time, because I shot my fight scene first, because they shot I think the movie took like 8 months. They shot initially all the scenes in the snow in Wyoming. I think it was Wyoming. Anything with hills was California, like with the horses when they would, and anything on the plantation scenes and the scenes inside of Candyland was in Louisiana. The stage was in New Orleans, and the plantation scenes were out in Vacherie, Louisiana, which is like 30 miles away. And I remember I had shot my scene. First day I went on set, it was Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz, and Don Johnson. That scene when Jamie Foxx showed with that blue suit on. And so I walk on set, man, because I had been rehearsing with the stunt coordinator my fight scene. Then the next day they said, well, now we want you to come on set and do it. Man, you walked out there, you look like you stepped in 1850. I mean, they had real cotton. They had the guys on the horses. They had the slaves. I mean, you looked like you stepped back in time. I mean, it was frightening. It was like they could have said, okay, we're gonna make all black people from this day on, y'all gonna be real slaves. It felt like they could have did it. It was like the set was so believable. It was awesome. Like it was like you was actually back in time. Yeah. I mean, and then I remember I met Don Johnson and Christoph and Jamie, and then I would go on set every day to rehearse the fight scene until it was time to do it. So I was on set at least 2 weeks before we started actually shooting it, and all the scene just seeing the professionalism of how Quentin runs his set. He shoots a lot of takes, but everything is professional, and people just seem like this one big happy family. I've been on sets where people couldn't wait to get it over with, but not this one. I mean, it was just like everybody was happy to be there because he works with a lot of the same people, particularly the crew. And so I remember that. That's my first impression being on set. I remember when I met Leo, which was so strange. I had the last time I saw him on film was the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover. So my last impression of him is this little fat white man on the side of the bed naked. That's my last impression of him. So when I'm on set, I remember I had been rehearsing my scene, so it said we're going to shoot the scene. So I remember Quentin said, okay, the only person I had met so far was Leo. Not Leo, I had met Jamie, Christoph, and Don, but Don Johnson wasn't in this scene. So we all go to say, everybody, all actors go in the room. Y'all just go in the room, just the actors and everybody. We're just going to wait outside. So we're in a room about probably 30 minutes. But I remember I'm in the room, and then I meet some of the new actors that's coming in. And then this kid walks up to me, how you doing? My name is Leo. And it does not register to me this is Leonardo DiCaprio. It did not register to me because he had jeans on. He was tall. He's like 6 feet. He's like 2 inches shorter than I'm 6'2", so he's at least 6 feet. He has his baseball cap on. I think it's Ohio State baseball cap, a gray t-shirt. So how you doing? My name is Leo. He just started talking to me, and then I'm saying, who is this? Because nobody in this room should be here unless you're an actor. And it took me probably about 2 minutes before I realized who he is. Because my impression of him was the little fat man laying naked on the side of the bed. So I had no idea who he was for about, this is who he is. Because I didn't know who he was for about 2 minutes because I didn't know he was that tall and slim. I didn't know he was that tall because he's taller than I thought he would be. And then we just started talking, and then I remember then Quentin said, okay, we're going to get started. He said, well, you want a water? I'm going to get a water. You want a water? I said, yeah, give me a water. I was just, yeah, he's very extremely nice guy. Christoph was our name for him was the most interesting man in the world because he had that beard and he had that European gentlemanliness, the way he was very wise. He seemed like a very wise person, the way he approached, very measured, meticulous. Because every time we was on set, I would shake his hand. He would always take his glove off before he shook my hand. He knew all the protocol, knew every protocol on how to present yourself. Jamie was real cool. Always telling stories all day. The thing about Jamie Foxx, he never raises his voice. Never raised his voice one time. You know, like Sam is a whole different story. Sam Jackson is what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
There's no pretense. There's no nothing. He is who he is, and you know that's yeah, Sam and Quentin are similar like that. They who they are, who they're very comfortable in their skin.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I was impressed by, nothing with Leo, he treated it like it was his first big break. You know, because a lot of times we were shooting scenes that he was off camera, it didn't make a difference. Every take was important to him. Similar to Jamie, even though they treated it like this was their big break, they didn't treat it like, oh, I got this, I've been doing this, you know, for however long, you know, I'm the star. Nobody treated it like that.
Yeah.
Now, I've been on film sets where people just started acting, they get a lead role and act like they've been doing, they done won 10 Oscars. So it's just that it was so comfortable that it helped you feel, they didn't treat you like you was less than because you didn't have the experience and acknowledgement and all the credits and, you know, all the trappings that they had. You didn't have the celebrity that they had. But they didn't treat you that way because they would treat the extras. Everybody was respectful to everybody. There was no, like I say, they didn't treat you badly because you wasn't one of the main people on set. So it was easy to talk. I was able to talk to anybody whenever I want. I got to hang out with Leo off set a couple of times. I was talking to Jamie almost every day on set, and then some of the other actors when I had the opportunity. But it wasn't about, you know, somebody he's off limit, he's off limit. You know, it wasn't about that. So that was probably my best impression of. That was probably the thing that people don't realize is that when you hear these rumors and you see the stuff that's printed about people, until you meet them, you don't know if that's true or not, because the person spreading the rumors or the misinformation may have a personal grievance with this person for whatever reason. That doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
So I was able to find out some interesting things about these people that was very positive. So it was extremely positive experience, and it helped me continue to act because, you know, I was thinking about, should I continue to do this? It was 5 years and I worked a little bit, but nothing major, nothing like this. I think the Tremaine from HBO might have been my biggest thing up to that time. But since then I was able to continue acting, and that was one of the main reasons why, because I got an opportunity to be in a film. I wouldn't say that I shouldn't have been in or didn't deserve to be in, because the part that I had, somebody else already had it. And the guy was Gerard's name was Gerard Bunch. He was the person that had my part. And he told me that he had the part, and they gave it to me. But he was in the movie, but he didn't have the part that I ended up getting.
Before we let you go, and again, thank you for coming on, do you have any parting words that you'd like to share with the audience? Just anything at all? Could be a proverb, poem, or just a word of advice.
Haiku, anything.
A word of advice, and I had to learn this myself, and because I say acting was something I never wanted to do, but one thing I've learned is that when you know, because I always had a fear. I don't like rejection or failure. So what that does sometimes, it paralyzes people from trying anything. And so I had to try something that I didn't know I wanted to try. So, but I would tell people the worst thing that can happen to you is that you learn something.
That's right.
That is the worst thing that can happen to you. So if that is the worst thing, why not? Whatever that why is for you.
Yeah.
You know, so the worst thing that can happen to you is that you learn something. And since that's what I was telling you, the best thing that happened to me was acting. It was nothing to do with acting. It's what it has helped. A lot of other things I'm doing and have done in my life I never would have done because I was too afraid of failure or rejection.
Mm.
You know, I've traveled, you know, the world. I mean, I've been to every continent except Australia and Antarctica. I've been to 5 continents, which I never would have thought I would have done. Because to me, when I was young, when I graduated from college, my dad asked me what I wanted for graduation. I said, "Give me a ticket to California," because that to me that was a big thing for somebody in Louisiana. I didn't get on the plane until I was 23 years old, but it was a different world 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was a whole different world. But now, people talk to anybody anywhere in the world instantaneously. So I would say, whatever you want to do in life, just do it. Do not wait. Because I've had, I'm over 50. Right after I made 50, I had 4 guys I went to high school with died in a 12-month calendar year. One, lung cancer, stroke, heart attack, brain cancer. And the last guy died was in the best shape. He was the best shape person that I knew, regardless of age.
Yeah.
And I had another friend of mine. I'm going his funeral. I went to high school, same high school, tomorrow afternoon. Anything you want to do in life, just do it. Because you'll either you may find out you don't want to do it. Sometimes the best things that happen to you, sometimes something not happen to you can be the best thing to happen to you.
Yeah.
Because then this is not what I really want to do. So you don't carry on that what if, but that's, not doing something can eat at you more than being rejected from or not at failure at something. So just do it, whatever it is, as long as it's not illegal, immoral, or unethical. I would say you try it. At least try it.
Yeah.
You may end up saying, I really didn't want to do this, but I learned something. I want to do something else, or, I did better than I thought I would. So that would be my number one thing to tell people. Because when you get older, you realize, like they said, time is more important than money. The older you get, the more that becomes true.
Yeah.
The more that becomes true. So do it. Start when you're young and doing it. Don't wait, because the time, the hourglass has started, whether you realize it or not.
And
You just don't know how much sand is left. That's the only thing you don't know.
There is a line from a film from it says no amount of money ever bought a second of time. So it speaks to right to what you're saying. So Escalante, what we wanted to say is first and foremost, formally from TTFT, thank you for responding to us. You didn't know us from Adam. You came on the show. You bared with our first and only technical difficulties we've ever had, and we wish you nothing but success. Not only in your audition that you did today, but the ones that you have coming up. And again, the world needs more people like you to just do it. Don't just do it because you think it's something you want to do. Do it for the human experience. So, Mr. Lundy, thank you for everything today. We're going to make you look good, but you already look even better.
All right, my brother. Appreciate both of y'all gentlemen.
Thank you very much,
sir.
sir.
All
Have
right.
a good night. Okay, so she has nearly 3 decades under her belt as a professional actor, working frequently with Quentin Tarantino, who actually co-produced a film with her. By the way, she also writes, directs, and produces. A true steward of the craft of filmmaking, when she is not making movies, she teaches and coaches actors. She's also a published author of numerous novels, including a book that every actor should be reading called No, that's K-N-O-W, No Small Parts. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. In 2012, you're Lara Candie Fitzwilly.
There you go.
Thank you. In Django Unchained, sharing the screen with a plethora of Hollywood heavy hitters. How long were you on set for on that, and what was that experience like?
I was on that movie for about 5 months, and it was the longest that I've been on a movie. I had the script way in advance because Quentin used to send me all of his scripts to read, just to give notes and stuff. Yeah. And so when I got the script initially, I thought that's what it was. I was here in New Orleans, hadn't seen Quentin in a while. I get the script. I mean, we had talked, but I get the script and I just thought he wanted me to read it and give him notes. So I'm reading it and writing all over it and whatever. And it was a 200 plus page script. And so I am deep in, I'm like on page 90 when I read Lara Candie Fitzwilly, a 40-ish, attractive, strawberry blonde. I'm like, whoa, what? And so I backed up. 40-ish, attractive, strawberry blonde, Southern belle. Wait, what? And so that's when I and my name is very similar to the name, and I'm Lara Cayouette. That's Lara Candie Fitzwilly. So I just was like, wow, is this for me? So I didn't know if it was for me, but I had that script at least a year before we shot. And then I went through the audition process and got the part. And then I had about 5 months between the time I was given the part and the time that I had to show up for work. No, I'm sorry, 3 months. 3 months before I got the part, something like that. So I had enough time to work on it for real, like I used to when I was in theater. I got to develop the character. I got to write a diary for her and create a photo album for her, and like a scrapbook. And I got to borrow a hoop skirt from the wardrobe department and walk around looking like an asshole in my city, with my friend Dana, who plays Cora in the movie. And Dana and I are walking in. I'm wearing my hoop skirt. She's wearing petticoats. I'm wearing a Saints t-shirt with my hoop skirt, She's like wearing regular clothes and this petticoats. And we're walking along with her holding an umbrella over me as tour buses are passing. I'm like, I don't even want to know what they're making of this. I can't even imagine what they're thinking of. There goes the white chick in the hoop skirt with the Saints shirt.
Yeah, in Los Angeles,
If no one even blink an eye, wouldn't even blink an eye.
blink an eye in LA, but yeah. What the hell?
It was a little odd, but I got to really prepare, like really, really prepare. And so that was months. And then I got to shoot for 5 months and be her for 5 months. And so it was probably the most grueling experience of my entire career, but certainly the most rich, and gave me an opportunity to do what I do well.
Yeah.
And you did yes. That you did do well. Yes, you did. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, you're sitting at a table with Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz, Leonardo DiCaprio, Samuel L. Jackson, and Kerry Washington. Now, if you were to write a film, and of course you were in the lead, and you needed a co-lead out of those people at that table, who would you choose as an actor yourself that you think you had the most chemistry with? Or who would you choose?
Well, first of all, I think this is a kind of a cruel question, because then I have to pick a favorite kind of thing. And you're talking about an entire table of Academy Award winners and nominees, BAFTA winners, Emmy winners, Golden Globe winners. I mean,
the egos have a long way to fall right now.
They're all tuning in now.
They're all people who, in their own way, are amazing. And like Sam Jackson is the biggest box office of the entire history of cinema. Mm-hmm. Kerry Washington had a brand new TV show come out while we were shooting called Scandal, So like there was all kinds of stuff. These are amazing people who are truly great at what they do. But I'm going to give you two answers: the one that you'd expect, and then the one that you weren't ready for. I pick Leo because I really, really enjoyed working with him. I had actually known him when he was a 16-year-old, because he was represented by an agency where I had a summer job as a receptionist. And so he and his dad used to come in and wait in the waiting room, and I would hang out in the waiting room because that's where I worked. So so they would hang out with me in the waiting room. And so I remember him as a kid, and that really helped me with my preparation to play his older sister. And when he showed up right away, but certainly as the days wore on, and working on Quentin's movies, you have the longest days in the history of the world. But working with him as the days wore on, it became very clear to me that he was like Shirley MacLaine. He never let 1 millisecond of time go empty. Mm-hmm. He and Shirley MacLaine are the two only actors I've ever been so swept away by watching them live when we're supposed to be filming, that I forgot we were filming. And I mean, at some point on Django, I'm at that table and I hear Quentin's voice going, Lara, you gonna say your line? And I was like, oh, right, I'm in this movie, because I just got so...
That's incredible.
He was captivating. But the answer you're not ready for is that you left somebody off that table. Dennis Christopher.
Oh, yeah.
He is at the table. Oh, my.
Who I have been so blown away by since I saw him as a kid in the Breaking Away movie. And I will tell you that of everybody I was working with, he was the one that I was like, I can't believe I get to work with Dennis Christopher. I couldn't wait to work with him. And we've remained friends to this day. But I had met him one time at the Apple store, and I'm not a fan person. I don't do the fan thing, but I like literally interrupted his business at the Genius Bar to say, pay attention to the fact that I'm madly in love with your work. You know, like I had to tell him, I had to say, you're amazing. I'm such a fan.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Dennis Christopher, I've been a fan of since I was a kid and saw him in Breaking Away. I just thought he was a genius in that movie. He was so good. And so, and he's like me. He's method trained. He's classically trained. He's theater trained. He's Shakespearean trained. He's hyper trained like me, and trained in many of the same ways that I was trained. And he was the only other person at the table that was trained that way.
Speaking of method trained, I know you leave the scene shortly before this happens, but what can you tell us about? I've heard that when Leonardo DiCaprio cut his hand, he kept performing. Can you speak on that at all?
Well, that's all true. Everything you heard is true. I was working that day, but I left right before that happened. And because, like I said, these days were super long. And I spent them in a corset. So it was a lot with 6 pounds of hair on my head. And, it was a lot. I iced myself more in the time that I worked on that movie than in my entire career doing gymnastics and volleyball. So I got a call saying, oh my God, you're not gonna believe what just happened. And so somebody called me from the set and told me the entire story. But I had already been watching the scene before I left. So I knew exactly which scene they were working on, and exactly, he's captivating. So I stayed and watched like 3 or 4 takes before I went home. But we shot that scene for like 3 weeks. You couldn't sit and watch all of it, like there's just too much. So at some point you have to say, an embarrassment of riches, I'm going home. So I went home and I get this call saying, oh my God, you're not gonna believe what happened. And they describe pretty much what you see on the screen, which is that he had been slamming his hand on the table, and each time he slammed it, it was making this little cocktail glass jump and move a little teeny tiny bit. And so at some point he slammed his hands down and it had moved under where he put his hand. And so he smashed it, and it cut his hand, and I believe was it 12 stitches, 16 stitches? It was a lot of stitches.
I assumed that it was like chalked up a little bit for like, it might have been like a scratch or a paper cut or something like that, but to make the story, that's crazy. And he kept going.
Lesser men and women would have certainly just fainted and been done. Okay, I mean, he gashed his hand. He gashed his hand and finished the scene.
Spoiler alert, you go out in, this is amazing. Like, it's probably one of the top 10 get your ass out of here scenes in a film ever. You go out in style in Django Unchained, literally blasted out of frame by the title character played by Jamie Foxx. So let me ask you this. We like to teach people here at TTFT, you're a teacher, and there's practical effects and there's special effects. This seemed like a practical effect, but tell us, how was that shot pulled off?
Well, Quentin, as far as I know, has never done a special effect. He only does practical effects. He does in-camera work, and I like that. And I think most of us old schoolers do like that. It was the way they would have done it in 1920. It was, I had a rig.
Just a horse and a rope.
We're going 3. 3, pull her.
It was, it's like a cartoon. It's like Wile E. Coyote. I have a rig on under my my uniform, my costume. I have a rig on that has a hook on the back, and the hook comes through the back of the dress and is got a hook to a rope, and the rope goes up over a pulley and back to a man on a ladder.
Oh my gosh. Movie magic, love.
Yeah.
How many times did you have to do that? Please tell me it was not more than 2 or 3 times. How many times?
They spent 3 weeks pulling her.
No, No, I did it 4 times the first day.
Oh,
Oh wow. Okay.
Then 2 days later, when I was good and sore, they told me I had to do it 2 more times.
and then they wound up telling you we used the first one.
Oh, I am sure they used from the first. I am 100% sure of that. I was when we were shooting the second day. I already knew this is showbiz, man. Just suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
You know, like just do the thing. Just do the do. And I also heard it was in the top 3 favorite moments of the film globally. And you know, there are very few things that we agree on as a globe, and especially when it comes to humor and violence. And yet,
Right.
globally, it was in the top 3 moments, whether you were in China or Iran or wherever you watched it. So that's pretty exciting.
How does that make you feel that like people love watching you get shot to smithereens? Like that's my favorite part when
When they yank her ass up out of there, yeah.
is it a compliment or
I'm going to tell you, my brother is the one that put this in context for me when I did Kill Bill. When I did Kill Bill, I originally had a part that was about 15 pages, and it shot in China, and I didn't get to do it. And so I ended up with the part that you see where I play Rocket, and I don't die. And in the original part that I had, I would die vaingloriously on scene. And so when my brother saw Kill Bill Volume 2, he's a little brother, so he's designed to annoy me and pick on me, and I'm designed to annoy him and pick on him. And so he saw the movie and was like, yeah, it was good, but you know, you're nobody till you die in a Tarantino movie. So I feel like that the second that my death became like a big dang deal,
Yeah.
that made me a big dang deal, you know?
what's your favorite memory from that set?
You know, as you can imagine, with so much time being put into it, I have literally hundreds of favorite memories of that set, including sitting around with all the background people and all, you know, for hours a day and just shooting the shit with the locals and all that. You know, I have a lot of really fun movie memories and a lot of memories that are just about being in my own neighborhood, working with my own neighbors. I would say the thing that stands out as unique to Quentin and working with Quentin is that between every take, not between every take, but pretty much, between setups, he will play music. Well, the sound guy will play music. And lots of genres, you know, just like Quentin is interested in a lot of movies, he's also interested in a lot of music. You probably can tell that from his soundtracks.
Mhm.
And so there's always a lot of music going on, and you never know what the next song is going to be. And as I mentioned, our days were very, very long. And so we would do things to entertain ourselves and each other. And all of us are born entertainers. So I remember the day we were doing the table scene and it was going really long. And at some point they put on Bobby Brown's My Prerogative, and Jamie got up, and you know the balcony that went around Candyland
Yeah.
on the inside, not the outside one, but the one on the inside. So he's dancing up on that balcony, and the girls all knew the video. So they're all doing the right dance in unison as Jamie, who is a professional singer, is singing the song. That was fun to watch. But of the dancing, singing, so the answer is dancing, singing. But of the dancing and singing, my favorite dancing, singing moment is that Sam Jackson it's the night that we're filming the funeral scene, coming back from the funeral. And so it's the middle of the night. It's, I don't know, 3, 4 in the morning. And they had already blown up Candyland. And so we're only going to be able to film in one direction because we can't show Candyland because it's already been blown up. And it actually 2 days later was still smoking. So there was a pyrotechnic issue, but anyway. So the antebellum mansion is in the background, smoking and blown up. And Sam Jackson is dressed in his velvets. He had those beautiful dress velvets because we're coming from the funeral. And the song that is played is Thriller. And Sam just starts doing the entire Thriller dance.
Oh wow.
and with the background of the smoking antebellum mansion. And I was like, John Landis never had it so good. Like this is.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There was like maybe 20 of us in the whole world that got to see it.
Okay, well, I mean, I think that may answer the question, but you let us know. I was going to say before we move on, finally, is there anything else you'd like to share about the film that fans of the film may not know, or just moments that they never would have saw it? I think you gave us one, but is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I'll tell you something that y'all would never know, because why would you? Is that this was a wonderful opportunity for all of us, and especially those of us who were the Southern locals, for us to dig into our own heritage and have really long, deep conversations about our different versions of our heritage. I am the descendant of slave owners, and it's possible I'm also the descendant of slaves. And then many of the people that I was working with were certainly the descendants of slaves and the descendants of free people of color. And it gave us all this opportunity to look at our own history and our own family legacies and have open, grown-up discussions about all of it in the present tense, given the context of that we're all sitting around in corsets, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was really intense and important and meaningful. And I think the whole world might be better if we just would talk about the things that we don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been amazing to be
That's
in that
cool
dialogue.
that I had a conversation going behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Laura, thank you so much again. It was such a pleasure. We learned so much and had such an awesome time. Thank you for taking a chance on us, and we will do right by you. Thank you so much.
Well, I really appreciate you guys including me, and thank you so much. You had very interesting questions. These were new ones for me.
Yeah, very interesting answers. I appreciate you taking so much time. I know we went way over the 30 to 60 minutes that I introduced this with. So
thank you again, and you have an awesome day.
Quentin Tarantino has said that he could not imagine making a movie without this guest, and IMDb actually reflects that perfectly. He has served as Tarantino's AD for Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Kill Bill 1 and 2, Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, Hateful Eight, and his latest Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's been working as an assistant director for nearly 3 decades with 70 credits under his belt. Thank you very much to Mr. William Clark for taking the time to talk with us today.
Hey, it's a pleasure, fellas. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. Let's get down to the brass tacks here. We're going to talk about Django Unchained. This was shot in 2012 across California and Louisiana with a sprinkle of Wyoming. Could you please tell us about this masterpiece and this production, sir?
Well, it was, what a joy. And a challenge. It was also a challenge, not only because of the multiple locations that you've mentioned, but the content. It's never easy asking 150 people to go out into the field and pick cotton, with a bunch of other, fellas riding horses around with shotguns, recreating that type of, that emotion and feeling. First off, recreating the cotton was interesting. It was challenging to do. It was actually soybeans. So the art department put all that cotton on all of those soybeans.
Okay.
And because you just can't grow cotton that fast. It takes some time, and there's not a lot of cotton fields in the South anymore. Mm-hmm. So, but our production designer Michael Riva did a lot of research. Wonderful man, Michael Riva, and he came up with the idea of placing the cotton on soybean because the soy plant looks very similar to the cotton plant. So we did that, and it was always something. There was challenge after challenge after challenge on that movie. We still managed to have an amazing time, but we right from the get go, we had challenges, right in training, because there was a lot of training, to ride these horses like you live on them was hard, and Christoph Waltz, we had been studying dressage, and in his first day of training, got bucked, off a horse.
Yeah.
And I saw it.
I had a question about that actually. Did Did Jamie Foxx really give him a saddle with a seatbelt as like a feel better gift?
I had not heard that. I don't know. I don't
Okay,
know
so
if
you
that's
can't confirm
if
nor
that's
deny. Okay.
I can't confirm nor deny. Yeah, I can't
Okay,
confirm
fair.
nor deny. It doesn't seem like a Jamie. You know, Jamie's more respectful than to make that kind of painful joke. You know, because
Yeah.
maybe at the end, you know, maybe afterwards when it was all said and done, but you know, and certainly not before recovery or while we were shooting, because Christoph had to work very hard and be very patient to heal in enough time to even get back on the horse. But that a blessing in disguise is that incident is where the dentist wagon came from. There was no wagon in the original piece. I was it was the day after Christoph's injury, and Quentin and I were sitting in his office, and we're he's not going to be the best. I believe it was we were trying to start shooting in December. I can't recall the specifics. This may have been September, October. And, and for a lot of the riding that needed to be done, both he and Jamie needed, not a couple of days on a horse, they needed months on a horse, to feel that natural. And, and Christoph all of a sudden wasn't going to be able to even get on a horse, until it turned out to be until after the new year, but we didn't know exactly yet. And so I just was like, this may be stupid. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. What if, he had a wagon? What if, like those snake oil guys driving around all the time? And Quentin goes, let me think about that. And I'm just like, oh, that was a dumb idea. I can't believe I even said that. This hero riding around in a wagon. Oh God. Oh, well, I said it. What are you doing? And then so the next day, Quentin comes in with a quintaglyphic sketch. He's not Picasso, or maybe he is a little Picasso. He's not he's not Monet. It's not realistic. It's more surreal, his images. But he comes in with the surreal image of a dentist wagon with the big tooth on top. And we call over Michael and Michael Riva, and he's like, what if we did this? He's a traveling dentist, so he has a chair in the back of and then we can put the dynamite in the tooth. What do you guys think? What do you think? And I'm like, that's hysterical, just thinking about that tooth, and there it is. Now that's the first image of the movie. That was not the plan, but sometimes, as often happens in filmmaking, and one of my favorite parts of the whole process is necessity creates invention, and what you invent out of that necessity is often better than what you had originally fantasized about. So this is one of those examples, and there's several throughout my career, where you've had to decide, you can't afford it, you don't have time for it, you don't have whatever it is, you don't have whatever it is, and you have to figure out a solution. And even though you don't have all the pieces, so you take the pieces that you do have, and you make something different, and sometimes it's better. Not always. Sometimes you have to make a sacrifice, but often it's better. And that's really when it's a really exciting process for me.
Just hearing that story, I just thinking about this. The Christopher Reeves, that had to be so scary seeing him bucked off a horse like
Christoph. Oh.
No.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Superman. Damn it. Yeah. It had to be so scary seeing that. So I'm just happy that he was okay. I never even known that the production was halted to do that. But thankfully, you and your quick thinking. But let me ask you this: there's a scene I want to ask about with the horses, since you brought it up. The scene at the end with Jamie Foxx and he's making the horse dance. Did he really do that, or because you said he had months to train, or was that someone else where he's prancing on the horse? It's like a little.
He apparently came with his own horse, right? Like he was.
that was his own horse.
Oh, well, then there you go.
He
Then
was well versed in horse.
okay.
And our guys, Rusty Hendrickson and Jeff Dashnaw, they taught him how to do that, and they took the horse. Really, Jamie, wanted to use his horse. He was a little familiar with his horse, but the horse wasn't movie trained. So Jamie allowed Rusty to take the horse, Rusty Henderson to take the horse, and so he and Rusty's amazing guys started working with the horse, and Jamie a little bit with a different horse, and then they brought the two back together. And a lot of it was Jamie's own horse, and I believe that was Jamie's own horse. And I saw it live. It really happened.
Horse movie training. Mr. Ed will never work in this town again. Goodness gracious.
The final shootout of Django Unchained wasn't in the script. That was something where you guys, like you said, there was a problem, and out of that came creativity. Like, the problem was, we have now done so much in the movie, we need something that tops that for the climax. So and this isn't just like something, let's just shoot that. They're talking about explosions, multiple extras.
Valentine's Day massacre almost, very, yeah.
So I'm interested what goes through that internally for someone like you who's tasked with, okay, this is what we want to do, let's put it together. What happens in your mind before you even begin to plan when something like that comes up?
Weeping, concerned about your job, end of career. What really caused it was the barn sequence. The barn sequence was so dramatic, and even shooting it was such a drain, even just to shoot the thing. And it was such a poignant and powerful thing that Quentin, was obviously the first to realize that what he had planned for the climax, the end of the movie, all of a sudden wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. Because now everything is coming down from the barn, as opposed to taking a little dip with the Australians and then crescendoing again.
Yeah.
So because really it was just a little speech on the front porch of the thing as they return from the funeral. He gives them each a gun and asks them to draw, and they can't draw, and he shoots them dead out there. And my biggest concern was the big night light exterior and creating fog and all of this stuff. It was Bob's concerns were my biggest concerns about that scene. And it was one morning at breakfast, after a day or two after we had finished shooting the barn. And I can always tell, you can tell when something is on Quentin. He's a very expressive person. Although he keeps his cards close to his vest, his face often gives away what's on his mind. And I saw just the way he was eating breakfast, or not eating breakfast, that the breakfast was sitting in front of him and he wasn't eating, that I'm like, okay, something's going on. And I just, hey, dude, what's up? How's it going? I need to talk to you. And he explained that the end of the movie wasn't big enough. He had to change the ending. He thinks he told me the idea of putting on Calvin Candy's suit. That was new. So I'm, just processing all of these things he's telling, because now I got to get Jamie into a fitting right away so they can reproduce that suit so it fits him like it fits Leonardo DiCaprio, because they're not the same people. Mm-hmm. They're both incredibly handsome and thin and in great shape, but they're not the same. So, I got to go through that whole process. And I know that suit was the piece de resistance for Sharon Davis, our costume designer. So I'm thinking about that. And then, and it's got to be a shootout. And all right. And so all the overseers that we had outside have to come back. All right. Some of them aren't even here anymore. I got to start figuring out how to get these guys back, And so I started working with Jimmy Scotch, Paul, our line producer, and Pilar and Stacy and Reggie and Reggie Hudlin to get, all of these things that we're talking about, which he is now going to go back. We shot what we were shooting that day. And then over the weekend, he would rewrite that sequence. And so we would learn. We were a couple of weeks away from it. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like Tomorrow, which had happened before on Kill Bill. That happened in Bud's trailer. It was a complete change, dramatic one day. But this, we had a couple of weeks to get our shit together. But even as we were doing it, it wasn't enough. We brought the overseers who we had back. And then he's like, yeah, and get me 10 others. And so we brought 10 more overseers. But then all of a sudden, we're shooting it. He's like, I need more. So I start dressing up the PAs. I'm an overseer. I'm one of I put on the cowboy suits. I'm the first guy down those steps, that's come down with the gun, just because, I'm just throwing people in, and I'm like, just do what I do. Just do what I do. We're trying to get it done. Just follow me. Just do what I do. And when I put the gun down, you put the gun down. When I put the gun up, you put the gun up. And when I walk forward, you walk forward. And like, okay, because everybody's nervous. They're not trying to be.
I didn't sign up for this.
This is some extra, like, what the.
We shot my key PA, Miguel. We shot him 2-3 times. We're just shooting people. We're just picking people to shoot. Just anybody we can to run in the building, and then redoing as many of the stunt guys as we can, Chinese style, because we learned it on Kill Bill. I mean, we killed all those crazy 88 5 times over. I think the one we killed the most was Elvis. We killed him 5 times. Was the fight, one of the fight team he called Elvis. His name was Elvis, and we shaved his head. He had, so for the first half of the scene, he has hair like Elvis, and by the end of the scene, his head is shaved because he's somebody else, because we had to kill him again. And that's
Crazy 42.
Yeah.
44, Crazy 44.
And so we took that model to the final shootout of, when he's shooting everybody before he gets trapped like a rat in the hallway, where we just keep bringing people in, bring as many people in. And then we needed more people again for when he comes out with his hands up. And that's where I was leading the posse down the steps with a nice big hat, which I always love. Nothing makes my job easier than being on both sides.
That is amazing. One of the most talked about scenes that people, they like it, but they don't really go into to know what really happened, is the dinner scene at the table when, of course, Samuel L. Jackson character Steven figures out that he want that girl. They ain't here for nobody. They want that girl. During that scene, Leonardo DiCaprio, he becomes so upset. And, from what we've interviewed and read, he slammed his hand on that table so many times that the cup eventually moved to under his hand. And one night during production, he actually cut himself. Were you there? And could you tell us about that? Was there, and him staying in character was the biggest thing that we were impressed by. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, I was there. I was about 5 feet from him, and saw exactly what he did, what had happened. It was just a little cordial glass, one of those little small glasses that you put your port or your sherry in, and they were all there. And he, goes through the speech, and you will, and he bangs, and he puts his hand right on the glass. And I'm like, because I saw it, I saw the hand go right down on the glass, and I saw the glass break. And I'm like, oh, Jiminy Crickets. And he kept his hand down there, and he just kept acting. And then he brought it up, and there he is bleeding, and cut. And then he goes, I think I cut my hand. Yeah. Like medic, Erica, medic. Yeah. And yeah, he did, and he continued right through. I mean, I knew from the first time I had worked with Leo was on Django Unchained, and the first shot that we did with him was the introduction of his character. We're on the back of his head as the Mandingos are fighting by the fireplace, and the French.
Yeah.
And it's a 70 zoom, big ass zoom, which only Bob can really do effectively and perfectly. And just about every time. I mean, I don't even want to get into how amazing Bob Richardson is as, not only a cinematographer, but as an operator. He's the best operator I've ever seen. There's, he's unbelievable. It's really mind blowing. And so we're doing that big snap zoom in, and Leo comes walking over to Bob, and they had known each other from Avatar and all, and all the things with Scorsese and all that stuff. And he goes, "Hey Bob, what are you zooming to and from here?" And I want to say, I don't know, I'd be making it up, but it was a long, it was quite a big snap, big wide whole room into not quite a Sergio Leone, almost a Sergio Leone, but to hear. And Leo just kind of shook his head. Okay, all right. And he's got that long cigarette holder and all that jazz. And the first take, well, come on in. We got a good bit of fun going on here. And boom, snap in. And he held the you can see, if you look again, the end of the cigarette holder is a little bit uncomfortably close to his face, because somehow he just knew where the end of the frame would be for the end of the cigarette, and he wanted to keep the shot's ruined if the cigarette holder doesn't make the frame, and he knows it, and he puts it in exactly the right purpose on take one. It was, and I'm like, okay, check the gate. I made a joke. I remember specifically, check the gate. We're moving on from that one, because it was perfect. The first take of the first shot with Leonardo DiCaprio was perfect, and not by accident. It wasn't a fluke. He knew what he was doing. Bob knew what he was doing. Quentin designed the shot, and it was magic. And that's just the way Leo is. I mean, Leo is really certainly the most prepared actor. Really, really digs deep and takes deep bite. That's why he struggled with the Calvin Candie character, because he was such a bad man.
I was going to ask you about that, because that's a perfect segue. Of course, DiCaprio was uneasy about the gratuitous racism in his character displays, until it's written that Samuel Jackson pulled him aside. And basically, Quentin Tarantino said that Calvin J. Candie is the only character he has ever created who he truly despises. I mean, like, truly, truly despises. What was the atmosphere like on set? You mentioned earlier having the people there, everyone dress up and this, that, and everyone recreating cotton and all this thing. What was it ever tense? And you as an AD, did you ever? I'm sorry, as an assistant director, you're not an AD. Tarantino told you that. What were you tasked with? Were you able to keep everyone positive? Were there days where it was harder than others? What was it like?
Yeah, there certainly were days that were hard. I remember the one day where they first arrived at Don Johnson's house. That drive through the field was a very uncomfortable day, because we were not, the weather wasn't cooperating. We're in a field with, all of these background specialists, dressed as slaves, behaving as slaves. And that's just, and the overseers behaving like overseers. And that's just hard to watch. It's hard to watch in the movie. But, when you're standing there on the ground and you're and I got to ask, honey, can you move to the next cotton bush over, please, and pick that cotton? I mean, it's right. So we went to great lengths to, I know I specifically did, I know the production specifically did, to constantly try to remind everybody who was there how grateful we were for them being there. That and the Greenville scene was also very painful to shoot. The people with I mean, to see that stuff, and none of it was fake. Right. It's not like we're making this shit up. This is real stuff that Riva and his team had researched, and we had to put real people into those circumstances, and it was not comfortable, and it was not fun. And fortunately, all these people, this was in New Orleans at that time, were really, really happy to be there, seemed to understand what we were trying to recreate, and were appreciative to a certain extent for themselves to actually be here. Their parents and their parents and their parents lived this, and I am here because of it. I am a powerful person, and I would do my best to remind them, and then of course invite them to the party.
Yeah, you got to come to the party.
And then yeah, so because we are still every Friday night, that's still an important job. where are we going? In New Orleans, it's not as challenging as it was,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but it still was an important part.
And just to piggyback off what you just said here is the challenges. I think you guys also had another challenge because me and him talked about this last night, which was I've never once in my life laughed at anything racism related, but for some reason you guys got a chuckle out of me when Jonah Hill came out of that mask, and then everyone's there arguing about, well, your wife made him. She's not going to do this anymore. The one guy, I'm like, wait a minute, this is the nicest mob I've ever seen in my life. It was funny. I chuckled. I was like, okay, they got me. That was excellent. So great job to you guys on that.
Yeah, that was all Quentin. Obviously that's Quentin's writing. And Quentin's in the scene. He's one of the guys. He never takes the bag off his head, but he's on the horse, and what if we go next time we go full regalia. That.
It's satire. He's making fun of them.
It's really that's what makes that scene work. Obviously, it's very well written. Quentin can write comedy just as well as he can write drama. The guy has a gift,
Right.
and the fact that we're making fun of these ass backwards people,
Right.
gives it a little light. It gives it a little light, and I'm really excited that it made the movie. The first version that I had saw, it didn't make it. It wasn't in that cut. And Quentin had showed me and Bob. He invited me over to the edit. Me and Bob over to the editing room together, and Bob and I sat in office chairs and watched it on a big TV, and we both missed it. And he's like, "Yeah, you noticed? Yeah, of course we noticed. We noticed everything that's not in the movie." And but this we really missed. And I remember standing out in the driveway and just kind of throwing ideas and before this and that, and then next time I saw it, Quentin had the brilliant idea of the flashback and all of that, and it was in a perfect spot in the film to give.
Right.
Yeah.
Some tension relief. Yes.
What's your favorite memory from that production?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's so many good memories and so many challenging memories, but there's one thing that I kind of love. It's kind of a personal story. It doesn't really reflect. It reflects in the film only in the sense that the montage with all of the way you set the table and how specific that was. Now I had brought a PA, oddly enough, who I had worked with on the Big Mama's House movie, Freddie Turner, who's now a photographer and an AD, a great AD in his own right. But when we were shooting in December in Lone Pine, the opening scene, with the I'm looking for Django. You're the one I'm looking for. Yeah. We were getting towards the end. That was very challenging to shoot. It was cold, and on top of it, we're misting. It's below 32 degrees, and because we want the breath, we had built misters in the forest, hidden in the trees, so water would be constantly to create the moisture, so there would be more breath to see in the coldness. So it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's because the shot through the icicles.
Yes.
That wasn't on our agenda. The misters created that ice, and Bob and I walked over and we're like, "Look at this! This is fucking wild!" And we brought Quentin over, and Quentin's like, "Yeah, we got to shoot this. But that was only created because of the misters we had put in the trees. The water had come together and started to drip off the leaves and would freeze. And so it was a really challenging thing out there in Lone Pine. It was uncomfortable, all the Jamie's out there and the rest of the guys, Sammy and all the other, the other guys that we had behaving as slaves in that chain gang were topless. They were uncomfortable. They didn't just act uncomfortable, they were uncomfortable. And my main man Freddie had had run to make a sandwich for one of the guys and inadvertently had ruined one of the shots. Just somebody had walked into the shot, and that shot, and Quentin was very upset because we're or it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. We're almost done. We're just trying, we don't want to come, we're not coming back another day. It was a stressful moment in time. And Quentin was like, I don't care a shit who it is. I want him fired. I want whomever, I don't give a shit. We got to get out of here. He was very upset. And I went and talked to, I put on a bit of a show largely for Quentin to, feign how upset I was. I was upset, but I know who Freddie is. I'm not, and I don't want to fire him. I'm going to find a way to not fire him. And Freddie had a bit of, he was really worried. He was very upset. He had a very difficult night that night. And the next day we come in and I'm like, Freddie, you stay at base camp today. And Quentin asked me, did you find out who that was? I'm like, yeah, I found out. Did you fire him? I said, no, I didn't fire him. Why not? I'm like, well, Quentin, I just really don't think it's the right thing. I don't, he had a moment. It was a mistake. And granted, he made a mistake, but he's here for all of the right reasons. And he's the sweetest guy on the planet. He's the size of a mountain, but he's, but his heart is as soft as a teddy bear. It's just, I just think it's the wrong decision. And I did not do what you asked. And I apologize. And he's like, okay. He begrudgingly agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, months later, we're shooting we're about to get ready for the setting of the table, which was a very important piece that, the musical interlude, again, a breath, but also the meticulousness with which the people who worked in the house had to adhere by was an important message for the stupidity of the whole situation. This is all dumb. Everything about this is dumb. Not only are the Mandingo fighting dumb, not only is the guy, the guys, getting a beer for winning the fight and not dying is dumb. The people having to set the table for these idiots, these Candie family idiots in such a meticulous way is also dumb. But we had taken, we kind of handpicked those people who would be working inside of the house for that sequence. One of them, Belinda Wino, came back. She was an extra on Django Unchained, and Quentin appreciated her work so much on that he brought her back. She was holding the jelly beans in the Hate Plate.
Mm-hmm.
And I had charged Freddie with finding the right person, we hired a specialist, to teach these 4 or 5 specific people. And I charged Freddie with making sure that they trained and studied how to do this like they had done it every day for their whole lives since they were small children. Mm-hmm. And Quentin he was kind of nervous about it because, it's just a weird thing. It's a weird way to set a table in general, and that it's so specific and so precise. And also, plus then you add the element of the camera to just move that precise so it looks a little bit even more precise. It was, and these are extras ultimately, these are background specialists who again have to step up and, under hot lights with, Quentin Tarantino staring at them with, with his big Cherokee eyes, and I charged Freddie with making sure that these people would be ready. And Quentin was so pleased with their work that he brought Freddie, at the end of the scene, he was great. And he asked the crew to give Freddie a big round of applause for the work he had done with these people in order to prepare that. And for me, it was a bit of a vindication for disregarding something that he had asked me to do. And for Freddie, it was, he was now where he was on the verge of tears and fear in December. In March, he's he's king of the world, and that's one of my favorite memories, and especially because of the content. You know, I took Freddie from Atlanta to Los Angeles to work on this movie because he was, you know, these are his parents, this is his family. You know, these are his genealogy that had to suffer and endure this. And he had done such a great job on Big Mama's House. I wanted to reward him with this opportunity, and he deserved it. And then to get the ovation from, you know, most importantly Quentin, but certainly the whole crew, for him and the people that he had worked so hard to train over the week to be so perfect, and we did it very quickly. And it was exactly what Quentin had wanted. And Freddie was a success and became all of a sudden one of the MVPs of the picture. Was a very proud moment for me, and he continues to make me proud.
It's always nice when you take a risk, and especially like a risk that involves a selfless act like that of pretty much disregarding what the boss is saying to save somebody's job, and then it ends up paying off like that big time where it worked out.
I said, yeah, definitely. That's an amazing story.
Yeah, that's just kind of what comes to mind. There's tons of things that were really remarkable about the whole movie. You know, I mean, there is so many great moments. I mean, Jamie Foxx is, God, I hate that guy. I mean, he can do anything. I mean, he can do anything at all. I mean, it's you know, he's a musician. I'll never forget the time when 1,000 corpses. You know, I got 1,000 corpses, 1,000 coffins. Like, what's the name of the artist? Like, it's escaped. Rick Ross was visiting the set. And he and Jamie go back to the trailer, and they come back written on a little, you know, the back of sides. And he's like, hey, Quentin, will you listen to this? Me and Rick, we're just working on this, and we want to know what you think. And there it was. I got 1,000 black corpses for 1,000 black, and you know, Rick Ross just recites it to Quentin. I'm lucky enough to be there, and he and Jamie had just scribbled it out together in the trailer 10 minutes before. It's like, geez, is there anything you can't do? Is there anything? Anything?
Oh my God. I got heart surgery tonight. We got to get out of here early, guys.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. And before we let you go, is there any parting words that you want to leave the audience with?
Be fearless. Be fearless. Young filmmakers, we need you because film is never going anywhere. And one of you is the next Quentin Tarantino, the next Scorsese, the next, you know, Ron Shelton, you know, you know, that person. You might be the next person who inspires the person that's coming after you. So be fearless.
That's an awesome outlet.
Awesome. Mr. Clark, it was such a pleasure speaking with you today. And again, I will always tell people that you're the man that made one of my favorite films ever happen with Jackie Brown. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Fan service. Thank you so much.
The pleasure's all mine. Thank you, guys. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for finding me.
All right, ladies and gents, and movie stints. That's never going to go down from season 1. And with that being said, Peter Parker Posey, say that 5 times fast. All right, we going to For Improve. Man, this is where we tell you guys what we French would tell you what we would like to improve with the film.
Don't speak French around me. It's insulting.
Oh, fuck you, motherfucker. That's French. All right. So what we're going to be doing, my honorable, not even honorable, what I would change about the film is something that he should love, because he loves to just tell you how he hates how films are wrapped up. I mean, it seems like every film we do, whether it's they let the hero go, they keep the hero, they kill him, they save him, whatever they do, he just doesn't like it because he didn't write the film, whatever. With that being said, for this one, I hated the fact that they, like, I don't know why or how they did it, but they never say why Django. I mean, you show Christoph Waltz's character, Dr. King, showing Jamie Foxx how to shoot. At no point do we see him going to the Smith & Wesson International Invitational 2009. Like, all these one-shot kills like we're playing Halo or something. And I even let a lot of that ride. And I was willing to let it ride because it was fantasy, it's satire. And then at the end, the most misplaced scene in the film, remember we were out there, like, I'll tell you about that. Mm-hmm. They show Django, you'll be the fastest sling in the way. Well, you should have showed me that an hour ago. Well, don't show me that now.
Yeah, it wasn't the best flashback that you. It wasn't even a flashback. It was like
It's a scene.
Yeah, they just added it in. Oh, remember?
Oh, he's alive.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, that was my only one. That was my room for improvement.
All right. Now, please excuse me because I have a little bit of an essay here to make my point and make it clear, and I want to be very careful with my words here. The N-word. This movie has more uses of it than any other movie. You could argue that it was in the name of historical authenticity or portraying the antagonists as despicable as they actually were. But my issue with it is kind of the same issue I take with it being used in songs. I don't say it. I don't feel comfortable saying it. I don't even feel comfortable with it being like an inner dialogue. But some of my favorite Kanye West songs, the N-word is prominent in the lyrics. So when I'm riding around and if I'm singing it out loud, I just don't say it. But it doesn't stop it from
Registering.
Yeah, for like when I hear the song in my head, I'm hearing it in its full effect.
Mm-hmm.
So it's infecting my inner dialogue, my inner vocabulary involuntarily. Tarantino's dialogue, like the N-word, I think should be an issue across the board in films because there's creative ways to replace it with something and still have the same point made. But Tarantino's dialogue is specifically problematic because there's a musical rhythm to his dialogue. He writes things for the for that effect of like eliciting some kind of response, and usually it's you're entertained, and there's this like all of his lines beg for quoting, like all his dialogue. It's things that you could. When you quote Quentin Tarantino films, it's just what you do, and he writes it for that way. So even when someone like myself that makes a conscious decision to not quote it out loud, it's still difficult to prevent it from echoing in my head. So they were willing to excuse authenticity issues when it came to things like weapons being used that weren't invented yet, or Steven calling someone a motherfucker when the phrase didn't exist yet. Or people practically exploding in the bloodbursts when they get hit with a single bullet. So why not create a stand-in word for the N-word that we could all know what they mean, but we don't have to have that specific actual word with its disturbing history echoing throughout our minds with every quote-worthy moment in the movie. So that's the issue that I would take with the movie is, I mean,
What word?
The N-word.
I'm saying no. What word would you replace it with?
It could be something ridiculous like
in a movie that would make people feel that's the word you were talking about.
Well, they would know.
How though? I'm saying how, because again, you have to understand, this isn't just a normal word. This word was created for hate, vitriol.
I mean, put up a little disclaimer in the beginning, a title card. It says, this specific word has a history to it. We don't want to put it out there any more than it already has been, especially in the way that it will be in this movie. For the sake of this narrative, Kleenex means N-word.
It would never work.
Scene.
It would never work. They tried that with Uncle Tom's Cabin. They took the N-word out of that, and the people revolted against it because certain words invoke certain emotions. There's no word. Listen, it was created, and there is no other word that can be used other than it. There's no other word, not even negro, can be used. Not even, which is Spanish word for black. I mean, no other word can be used.
You saw my top 5. You're gonna need a bigger boats.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many lines that are worthy of that list
they were deemed
that
useless.
I just would not put on there because I can only most Tarantino films I play them in my head and I can hear the dialogue. With this, it's not.
You couldn't get your Jackie Brown on. Not even one time.
Yeah. So that's I totally get what you're saying. I mean, I get the flip side of the argument completely, that we don't want to whitewash history. That is a word. It has been said. It was used for those purposes, and I don't know if the movie would have been as powerful if the people that are getting blasted.
Hey, Kleenex, get your ass over here. Kleenex, David, I'm shocked. Nothing.
That was just the best.
Not syphilis. Not anthrax. You went with Kleenex.
Yeah.
At least we'll get a sponsorship now.
Kleenex, the new N-word.
Got a little dirty secret? Well, this will clean it right up. All right, sir.
God bless you.
Speaking of God bless you.
All right, let's move on to Fxxks Given. This is what we thought of the movie. This is our review. Before we give our review, let's hear what former Twitter user Donald Trump had to say about the film upon its release.
Django Unchained. Django Unchained.
He did.
I know.
Make it silent.
Django Unchained. It's the most racist movie I've ever seen. It sucked. It's hugely racist. Huge. It's huge. They might as well just released it in Russia. So with that being said, I already knew what I gave it. I gave it 4.5. But because this motherfucker really said it was the worst ever, and I'm completely on the opposite side of who this motherfucker is, I got to give that extra, Harvey Weinstein bump. And I'm going to give this thing a 5. I really with this film because, again, it's the same thing that we talk about with Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's the same thing we talked about with Coffee Town. And with even with as recently as Tropic Thunder. Certain films are time periodic films, but you can't be scared to use and talk about what's really going on. Mm-hmm. And so when people say that, you got to be all soft with it. You got to be all like, no. They did it their way. To me, it echoed on the sense of which I really hate now is how they censor comedians. Being a comic is almost it's above being a pastor to me. Mm-hmm. You get to tell the unmitigated truth without me judging you, and I know how you said that you're truly side laughing at your own pain. So the way you get over your own pain is by making other people not have to experience theirs.
And you get to portray the truth however you want to. Mm-hmm. Like what you're actually showing doesn't have to be the truth on paper. Like it could be something that makes you feel a certain way that gets you closer to what the truth is. Mm-hmm. I give it 5 too because I think that's whoa. I think it's a perfectly made film. I think the pacing is fantastic. The slow motion, the use of slow motion in some of the moments. Normally I would complain about in a 2-hour and 45-minute movie, like, that didn't have to be slow motion. We could have chopped it down a little bit.
Like perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
When the guys are walking to get her out of the box in
the
yard.
It
really built the tension there. So yeah, I think, and I love the fact that I can't remember who said it, but somebody said something that I think rings true for this movie is that a movie doesn't owe reality anything. And I think this, and right up there with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's like reality. We started making movies because we want that fantastical life.
Is art imitating life or is life imitating art? We have a responsibility.
And if you create something that brings somebody closer to a true sentiment, then I don't care how you go about making that happen creatively. If where I land after watching it is somewhere closer to a feeling, something that is true, then show people getting blown up by a single bullet.
Put it this way, there's 2 ways to talk about race. There's this way, and you feel a certain way walking out of the film theater, and then you can watch American History X and feel another way.
Yeah.
Both about race.
Yeah, that's very true. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 87% with the critics, 91% average audience score, so it's high up there pretty much across. Pretty much everybody with a good working brain on their shoulders enjoyed this film.
Well, there's one person that didn't. And moving on.
We have moved on. As a country and as a show.
We've moved on.
As a social network, so many things have moved on from that f***ing sore. Yeah. All right, let's get on to coming attractions. Next week, not next week, but the 25th, February 25th, this is going to be a very special episode. We're going to be covering the new documentary, The Reunited States. We're going to break from our normal format that you're used to at TTFT. It's going to be more like a extended discussion with the creators of the documentary. Will be joining us for the entirety of the show. And so in lieu of that, be sure that movie is available right now on Amazon Prime. So check it out so you can be ready for that episode on February 25th. And
I got 100 black coffins for 100 bad men, 100 black graves so I can lay their ass in.
I need 100 black preachers with a black sermon to tell from 100 black Bibles while we send them all to hell.
I need 100 black coffins.
100 black coffins.
100 black coffins.
I need 100 black coffins.
Lord! 100 black coffins.
Oh Lord!
That's the f***ing trailer. You don't want another one?
No, I'm good on that.
Why don't you subscribe? It'll last longer.